we have Robbie Floyd and Ricky Johnson starting our TV show as we speak, live on the air, live across the globe. It's being recorded for TV as well as the internet. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to go pro racing. We've got the opening ceremonies down at the podium. We have got a global audience watching us right now. I know people in the UK, I know a few in Australia, and yes, I know a few on a military basis within our borders right now. Ladies and gentlemen, we have got pro races, pro flight, pro 2, pro 4, and pro...
It's time. Time to show what you're made of against the most competitive drivers on dirt. Time to unleash the beast within that longs to conquer. It's time. Time to power through the field in the vision-blinding roost. Time to dig and claw for clean air. To outwit, outpower, and outdrive to the top step, where the air is oh so sweet and the champagne quenches like nectar the dry and aching thirst. With just a few more rounds in the TORC season, it is time. The Pro Light class, deep, talented, and hungry, promises heated battles to the better end. Kyle Kleiman has quiet resilience and iron will on his side, but the Dusty Pack growls in deep desperation and is even more willing to risk it all. Newcomer to Pro 2, Luke Johnson has finessed the number 14 to the points lead and is on the threshold of stepping out of the proverbial paternal shadow and into the championship light, if he can keep the momentum. The raw, roaring, brawling Pro 4s displayed the bitterest battles of the season, where no surrender was offered and no quarter given. Tenacious and determined class leaders Johnny, CJ, and Keegan approach every race as fierce combatants, ready and willing to leave it all on the track. With precious few opportunities to claim your place among the elite of off-road, it is time. Time for the Twin Cities Takedown.
Originally, this race was set to go down about 3 months ago, but it's upon us now. Stop number 4 of TORC, the off-road championship presented by AMSOIL, is the Twin Cities Takedown. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the beautiful ERX Motor Park. I'm Robbie Floyd. This is the Motorsports Hall of Famer, the legend, Ricky Johnson, by my side once again. And, Ricky, we look back 3 months ago, and there was no chance of having that round here at ERX. I mean, tornadic-like conditions, heavy rains, heavy winds, and thank goodness they postponed it because perfect conditions today. But with the postponement comes a lot of pressure for not only the drivers, the mechanics as well.
The last 3 rounds, there's pressure across the board. Brad Lovell has to finish first all 3 races and hope that Luke Johnson has a mistake. So as a driver, he's got to be nervous. He wants to make sure that he does not make a mistake. On the other hand, Luke Johnson with a 39-point lead in Pro 2, his crew has to be biting their nails because they cannot afford a DNF at this point. So pressure across the board.
Well, like we said at the top of the show, the time is now, and especially for Brad Lovell, and he caught up with Kate Osborne.
With 3 rounds left, in a perfect Brad Lovell world, he could still win the championship, but Brad, a lot has to happen in order for that to be the case. What needs to happen?
Well, you know, I think Luke might have to have some bad luck. We can't control that. We're here focused on what we do best. That's looking to win races. So I think it helps us to lay in this round. They've changed the track a little bit. We've worked on our setup. Feeling pretty good heading into this.
You mentioned they changed the track. What are some of those track changes?
Well, they've made it a little bit more technical to try to open up some more lines. They've added a single jump after the big jump after the finish line coming over the berm. And then they've added some more whoops coming into the Talladega turn there, so it makes it a lot more technical. I think we got a good setup for it.
Brad Lovell definitely working on winning these races, sitting second right now in the Pro 2 championship.
Now let's send it over to public address announcer, the voice of off-road, Mr. Scott Drain.
Welcome, everyone, to round 4 of the Off-Road Championship Series presented by AMSOIL. Let's now go to our podium for the presentation of colors. This afternoon, presenting those colors are the Elk River American Legion. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the Gold Star family presentation of our flag. Becky Ewing of Blaine, Minnesota, with son specialist Brennan Pittman, who is active duty military, honoring their son and brother, Army Sergeant Zachary Ewing, who passed away August 27th, 2016. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for our opening invocation this morning by Billy Sanderson.
Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, we are grateful and mindful of those who have given the ultimate sacrifice that we could be here today. Thank you for this beautiful track, beautiful weather, beautiful people. Pray that we would have a safe day in this pro class. God, we just thank you for those who have come out. We just pray that you would be honored in all that we do here, all that we say. Pray that the competitive spirit would run through the veins of the racers. And it's in your matchless name we pray, Jesus. Amen.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the greatest song in the world, our very own national anthem, sung by Kim Woody.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red and glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that starred spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
And now, race fans, for those famous words in motorsports, we turn over the Grand Marshal, Army Specialist Brennan Pittman.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
Well, race fans, there we have it. The pro races are about to start. We've got Pro UTV, both Pro Mod and Pro Stock. Back at staging ready for the racetrack.
As you see the Pro Stock UTVs lining up there in the woods or staying out of that sunlight because, Ricky Johnson, it is a hot day here in Minnesota.
Yes, it is hot and humid, and we've seen such a variety of weather. Obviously, in the spring, we had to cancel the race because of so much rain, and as you said, was it tornadic? I think
tornadic, that was my word of the day. Yeah.
That was an awesome word. I've never used it and never heard it. So looking at turn 1, it's in perfect condition, and I've said this before and I got hassled on here, but for a motocross guy, it's chocolate cake.
Yeah,
the water is deep. Mother Nature has watered it evenly everywhere, and it had a chance to sit. So it was muddy in practice this morning in a couple of the sportsman races, but right now we have a great racetrack.
And you can see the water standing, and you see, as Brad Lovell had mentioned earlier, there's an extra little kicker on the backside as they're coming towards us and then sweep around that left-hand turn. They got an extra little hump to worry about.
Exactly. So what that does just slows them down a little bit because we have seen some contact in that corner, so it throws around a little bit. Now we also look exiting this turn. You see the Cooper banners on the inside is a split lane. You pick right, you pick left. Now it starts off typically the one on the far left is harder to get into, but if you do get that turn right, that's a quicker line because as you can see the angle of the jump on camera, as you're looking at it to the left is a little bit steeper, and the guys have to slow up a little bit going over that jump, but on the inside they can. But it's deep sand and it gets a lot rougher as it goes, as this throws us into the rhythm section into the Talladega corner. Some of the cars, they're double going through there. Some are kind of bouncing through and just skimming across the tops. So a little bit of supercross and motocross thrown in here at Elk River.
And something to notice also with those kickers as they head into the last turn is it will upset the truck, the UTV, whatever it is, it will upset that vehicle going into the final turn no matter what lap you were on. As we look at the Yamaha lead vehicle, the Pro UTV, the stock class will be our first race of the day, and there is our Yamaha Pace vehicle out in front. And you know, this class of the Pro Stock UTV has been dominated by CJ Greaves, and he's going to start with an inverted start being the points leader. He's going to start back on that third row, but he has 10 wins and 10 tries this year, and it doesn't get much better than that, although we have seen some competition as of late.
Well, we have, and Keegan Kincaid has been getting faster and faster every week, and obviously you can't take away the guy who's his protege and the guy who raised him and fathered him is Johnny Greaves. But Johnny's got a different driving style, and that's where we see Johnny's much more aggressive, throws it in harder, more like a toggle switch when it comes to the throttle, and CJ's more precise, smoother on the gas, drives a little bit more like a Pro 2 style. But it has been very effective in the past for CJ. He was a back-to-back winner here last year, so let's keep an eye on CJ Greaves, but you can never count out Johnny Greaves.
No, and actually to let the crowd in on what we're going to see, we're going to see Johnny Greaves in the Pro Mod UTV. So the first time seeing Johnny in a UTV in the TORC series. And we're talking about Pro Stock right now. Leading the field, Dylan Poynton, the 929, Jake Lunderby. And really, it's those two guys that have been putting the pressure on CJ as of late. And now they're starting up in front. Watch out for Scott Waz, Zach Martin. Kenny Mash was fast in practice yesterday as well.
What I'm liking is that the track is very raceable. Guys can run high and run low.
On the gas as soon as you can in that acceleration zone and not wasting any time. The 929 of Dylan Poynton. Now, earlier in the sportsman categories, there was really only one line, that inside line, but it looks like things have opened up. That outside looks much better right now.
Well, right now, the drivers are going to want to look for what is, I guess, the most shallow dirt. You see how it's really soft and how it starts to bicycle them and bunch them up. They want to make sure they keep the vehicle on top of the sand and keep it moving as fast as possible and watch for the lines to change, because even after one lap, you can see it starting to get beat up a little bit.
Jake Lunderby on the yellow Yamaha, and I say on or in. It's hard for me to categorize this because it's a UTV class, but actually in. There goes CJ Greaves on the inside, moving into third now. So CJ Greaves working his way up, getting by a couple of drivers. I'm trying to figure out who the blue and white UTV Yamaha is that's behind him, because he did a little Rambo into that hairpin turn. Might be Kenny Mash, but he rammed her in there hard, and I don't think he'd like getting past that early on.
Well, I'll tell you what, CJ is very calculated about his moves that he makes, but when it's time to bring in a hammer, he's not afraid. So right, what's great about these vehicles is they're so tough, and they're all-wheel drive, so it's like a mini Pro 4. You can see CJ opening up the exit on the big jump, but then closing it off on the inside on the hairpin.
And that's where he wanted to be on that first lap, and look at him, and this is going to set him up for that inside line. Now, earlier in racing the Sportsman, the inside line was a little quicker, but it also set you up maybe in the wrong spot for that left-hander.
Well, we saw Martin have a run, and he was able to pull it back off. So right now, that right lane is quicker as they go through. Martin takes back over the position, but now CJ on the inside.
And that's the shortest way around. Now CJ Greaves moves into that third spot behind his buddy and former roommate Jake Lunderby is in the yellow Yamaha just in front. But look at Martin diving in, throwing it in there. Martin not giving him anything. You know, he sets up here. He's got the inside into the next turn.
Exactly. We run from in, we turn to right, then to left. CJ's trying to carry some momentum. So what he's looking for is the pass in the hairpin. He'll try to run the high line, carry a little bit more speed down the exit, and then he'll have the position on the next hairpin left.
And there's a case where CJ literally just drove around Martin in that particular turn. Martin wanted that inside, said if you're going to go wide, do it, but that time it was the outer line that was the quicker. Now CJ taking the right hand, following Lunderby. Yet everybody's chasing Dylan Poynton, but Poynton takes the inside. Now let's see as they head down this straightaway with a big whoop section in it, how they come out.
And you watch Martin in the orange car starting to swap side to side, so that sand section is already getting beat up. And I love what CJ Greaves did. He did a double coming in and put him right on the inside of Lunderby.
Lunderby still holding on to second. You see Martin back there in fourth watching this go down, but Poynton didn't lose any ground taking that inside line that last time.
No, he didn't lose any ground because he didn't have anybody in front of him, so he wasn't eating any roots and he could pick his own line. But when you're nose to tail, you can't see that well because there is so much sand, and you can see that these side-by-sides do not have mud flaps, so you're eating a little bit of dirt at the same time.
Never even thought about that, but you're exactly right. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 pretty tight. Kenny Mash back in fifth, Scott Waz sixth, Jason Luberg seventh, and low, rounding out the top 8.
Dylan Poynton a little over rotation, but looking down the inside, so he is trying to use this line to his advantage. But we see Lunderby making a run, but right here it's the second part of the wash that seems to get the guys on the other lane.
So there's CJ, as you're talking about, he gets kicked around a little bit too much, but it really sets him up good on this inside. And we know that's the shorter way around, but Lunderby is able to drive, keep that momentum going just a little bit more, Ricky.
Right, but I like the way CJ is timing. And watch CJ comes in, keeps it really straight, doesn't rotate too much, and kind of just a little push, and then runs, and then that puts him in position to pass Lunderby, but here comes Lunderby back up the inside.
The push was all right, and he still gave him quite a bit of room that time. I wouldn't mind if he kept pushing a little bit. Keep those RPMs up if I'm CJ.
And that's what he was looking for. But CJ's running the short way around this track, except through turn 1, where he can carry the momentum, and that seems to help him out quite a bit. But now you see him start to open up his entry a little bit, but still comes in quite a bit more narrow than Poynton.
Dylan Poynton, Dragonfire Maxxis Vickery Motorsports machine out of Littleton, Colorado, out in front, the 929. Just behind him now, the 10-time winner in TORC this year, CJ Greaves, that Monster Energy Yamaha Maxxis Graves Motorsports Yamaha.
Watch the inside. He doubles, he gets over the inside, and that sets him up perfectly. And I'm hoping that Lunderby picks up on that because he just lost 3 car lengths to CJ. So that is the Achilles heel to everybody else except CJ Greaves at this point. It's the whoops going into the Talladega turn.
Did you see Poynton on that finish line there? For these guys, it's kind of a tabletop. For the trucks, they'll clear that whole thing, but he actually downsided it that time.
Yeah, he was able to get all the way up and over, but where I'm seeing CJ is not running the cushion too hard, and Poynton is. He's getting out there and it's starting to beat him down. See where CJ shoots across the inside? The dirt's a lot lighter. He can keep the vehicle up in RPMs, and it's not pulling him down as much.
I think he pointed out something good as we see right here. We know CJ loves to go inside, but what does he choose? He can do whatever he wants now, but I think they're both going to the inside. Just go slow him, and this is going to have to help Lunderby just a little bit.
A little bit, but watch CJ going to this next turn. If he gets close enough, he'll be able to pull off the turn on the inside. So as Poynton goes to the outside, CJ shoots to the inside. Can he make it stick? Comes to the inside and gets the position.
He's just been going to school on everybody, and now it's Dylan Poynton who finally goes, oh man, maybe I should have went the low route that time.
And this is exactly what they didn't want. They did not want CJ Greaves in first place, but they need to watch that and learn.
One thing about this, Ricky, is typically as we take a look at this pass for second place a little while ago.
He just comes into the inside, slight understeer, rolls on the gas, and you can see Lunderby is out in the fluff, but gets a little bit of a run. But once they get evened up, it puts CJ in a better spot.
And CJ still gave him 4 to 6 feet. That's what I'm saying. That surprises me a little bit. Close is relative, but that wasn't even close, Ricky.
Yeah, no, he didn't bump him. He didn't do anything. He didn't have to because these guys are looking for the cushion right now, and CJ's figured it out quick enough that the cushion is not the fast way around at this point because the inside line is not blue groove. In practice yesterday, it was a completely different racetrack. The inside was hard and slick and no traction right now. It's the place to race.
It's going to be a little bit before they can get back to the starting area, but I want to point out that what CJ Greaves is doing is not just tight in every single corner. He's tight here, wide here. He's changing it up. And a lot of times when you think underneath everybody is quicker, that's not the case. Kate Osborne?
Well, CJ Greaves obviously knows what it takes to get it done. He has had a pure perfect season, to be completely honest. However, Dylan Poynton started the season out really strong, but these last couple of races since round 7, he hasn't been back on the podium, 4th being his highest, but he's been way back in the pack, and right now he's definitely proving that he deserves to be on the box again.
Yeah, other than that bad start at the first round of Chicago where he finished 7th, a 3rd and a 2nd really got him going forward. But yeah, a couple of bad races for Dylan Poynton cost him a shot at a top, or at least a shot at the title.
Well, and what happens is you have success, then you try to better that success, and sometimes you take it down the wrong way, and maybe that's what they did with his setup, and now he's figured it back out.
All right, so CJ Greaves sets the pace. Poynton, Lunderby, Martin, Mash, your top 5. 6 laps down, 6 more to go. They didn't wait too long. He's back on the throttle. Now that he's out in front for the very first time, let's find out the lines. There goes a dive bomb. That's Martin going on the inside of Lunderby. He's good, but Lunderby trying to drive around the outside.
Lunderby got pushed out in the fluff, but now Lunderby has the spot going into the hairpin. If I was all of these drivers, I would do exactly what CJ Greaves has done. He's passed the top 4 guys, put himself in first place. Whatever he did, I don't care if he rolled the car, I would follow him and roll the car.
I do like what Lunderby did that time, though. Momentum took him to that outside, and he kept his foot in it and said, all right, I'm stuck with it. He didn't force himself to the inside, and I think it really paid off in that instance.
And none of them take the line that CJ does. It was surprising, except Martin. I take that back. Martin shoots to the inside, gets that double. So I'm hoping that Lunderby and also Poynton pick up on that, because they're losing a couple of car lengths every lap.
Martin on that SOB Built Motorsports Victory Lane crash off-road out of Cochran, Georgia. That's the red machine you see in 4th right now. Another Yamaha. Zach Martin, there he is, the 918, and he's trying to do something a little bit different, and he's 4th, trying to make it into 3rd. Now you're seeing that roost being thrown up by these Yamahas.
And that's where the driver, he's trying to run just on the edge of that cushion, but the guy in front of him throws a little roost in his face, and then he shoves him out. But a lot of these guys have tightened up this corner, and the inside is getting blown off a little bit more.
One thing about this track in the split section is sandy, period.
Yes.
The rest of the track, they have added clay. It's going to be hard packed, more hard packed than when we saw them in the spring.
And there goes, but he doesn't quite clear it. But still, he gets a position on Lunderby. So I'm surprised, Jake being a motocross guy, and as you know, Robbie, you have to chase and do what the guy does in front of you if he's pulling away from you. Lunderby hasn't picked up on that.
And Martin's also another moto guy, as you see the 941 was trying to throw it in there as well. But yeah, Lunderby's swapping around a little bit. I mean, in that situation right there, you don't see too many right and lefts on a straightaway. Something's not quite all together for Jake Lunderby today.
Good lines, and it's frustrating because this is a big track for side-by-sides, and it's all about momentum, and that's where we've seen CJ. But what I like is Poynton is not losing any ground. He's keeping very tight with him, so he's learning something from him. Hopefully he can start to inch back up to him and then take a shot at him.
I thought he had a pretty decent lead, but that's not the case. Dylan Poynton not wanting to let go. And you know, this championship hunt, it's been the CJ Greaves show, but Dylan Poynton wants his first win of the season. He's finished 2nd back in the last time we were here in Elk River. That's his best finish of the year. And you know what happens when you go to a track that you really jive with. I mean, it gives you that confidence that you can do it.
Well, and I'll be honest with you, when you have a guy that's dominated the series like that, it means so much more to beat him, because he's set the bar so high. So if Poynton can gather back up and get close enough to CJ, and if CJ makes a couple little mistakes, because these guys are running hard, and if all it takes is CJ to miss a little bit, and here we're watching Dylan Poynton in 2nd, he can make up that ground, but we have not seen a lot of mistakes out of CJ Greaves this year.
Yeah, Dylan Poynton with the Maxxis tires, like CJ. Now a little separation that time. 1 and 2 take the inside, 3 and 4, and the rest of the field take that outside. With that much separation between those top 2, I think I still would have played follow the leader. You know, it's not like I'm going to make a pass in that instance, so something must be quicker. Now you see Lunderby going inside, Ricky.
Yeah, Lunderby picked up that triple or double, and that seemed to help him. And if you notice, he pulled about 3 car lengths on Martin, so I'm expecting Martin to pick up the same thing.
Driving in, there's Zach Martin in 4th. Scott Waz in 5th, the 941. Wise up, because he's trying to get by.
Damn it, I was waiting.
What's happening?
How sick is he of hearing that?
I know. He was there just a minute ago.
That's right. So, but right now, Waz seemed to have a really good line. He's reading the traction well. And It seems like Martin is running, as you see, runs a little bit high, gets caught up in here, runs the cushion a little bit harder than that, and throws him sideways, loses a little bit of drive coming off. So Waz doing a great job keeping it very clean.
How about the railroad tracks through that S section there?
Yeah, well, I talked to him, and I'd love to see him get rid of that split lane for the last round.
Just make it soupy throughout.
Well, no, it's going to change. It's going to move left, move right. Let's try it. Let's do something different. There's something we can do at sand. So for the last round, knock it down, man. Let's change it up.
I wouldn't mind that. We'll see if that's the case. White flag, one more to go. This is a 12-lap race. Seems like a marathon too as we get into the final round of the regular season. Before we head into the final pairing of the 2017 championship.
What's great is that Johnny Greaves, CJ's dad, was a pro motocross racer, raced in supercrosses back in the 80s and 90s. I think, just in the 90s. And CJ grew up racing motocross, and so it's got to be cool for him to have a Yamaha sponsorship. They got a complete factory program going on underneath them. It's production motors, so there's nothing fancy under the hood except, they got the Graves exhaust and they got the different people that modify them. And Johnny and CJ, or actually Johnny, I think, is more the brainchild behind the suspension. But it is great to see him having that factory support.
Bonsai Willie for Dylan Pointon there, but he's not going to catch the kid today, making 11 in a row for CJ Greaves. Dylan Pointon, an excellent drive, the best we've seen out of him. And watch out, CJ, the final 2 rounds, because Dylan Pointon won some. Jake Lunderby's going to round out our top 3, and we'll hear from them when we return to TORC, the Off-Road Championship presented by AMSOIL.
When it comes to protecting your engine, AMSOIL offers the next level performance truck owners demand. AMSOIL provides 75% more engine protection against horsepower loss and wear than required by a leading industry standard, extending the life of pistons and cams. Give the vehicle you love the above and beyond fortification it deserves. AMSOIL, devoted to protection.
Cooper tires on the ground, go round and round, round and round, round and round. Tires on the car are warranty. And what you need, the tires on the car help keep you safe. They grip the road when you hit the brakes.
Your tires matter. So count on Cooper, an American company since 1914.
The tires on the ground go round and round.
As you look at the drivers heading towards the victory podium, the big question was, could he keep that momentum going? Could he take that Yamaha checkered flag one more time? And yes, the Yamaha CJ Greaves takes the first win of the day in the Pro Stock UTVs. Welcome back to ERX Motor Park in Elk River, Minnesota. Ricky Johnson, Robbie Floyd, and you see Kate Osborne down trackside. A great race. Not only 1 and 2, 3 and 4 were in that mix for pretty much 3/4 of the race, Ricky.
It was a great race, but CJ's done what he's done all year long, and he figured out the track quicker than the next guy.
Let's send it down to the blonde beauty down there. There's Kate Osborne speaking with CJ Greaves, his 11th win on the season.
Guys, 11 in a row. CJ, it's pretty incredible. They have changed the track here at ERX since we were last year in round 3. You have a couple more events coming up here today. What did you learn that you can take into both the other UTV race and the Pro 4?
There's definitely some new lines out there. I mean, they did a great job with the track and changing it up and being able to get 2 race lines out there. I think there was definitely a couple key parts on the track that was able to separate cars and had 2 really good race lines. So it just came down to, we didn't qualify that great, so we had a little bit of work to do, and we just picked them off one by one. And right before the caution, Dylan left the door wide open going into that finish line turn, so I jumped it inside, and it was just a drag race up the hill. So we knew after the caution it was going to really come down to being smooth, because he's always fast in the second half. It seems like anytime he can drop in behind me, he definitely picks up the pace. So hats off to him and my teammate Jake Lunderby, but I think we can't thank all these guys from Yamaha Racing enough. They do an awesome job. Yamaha Luke from Beyond Redline, Monster Energy, Method Race Wheels, Maxxis Tires, Fox Shocks, all these guys. We appreciate all the help. We're going to keep moving forward, and hopefully we can make this a 13-peat.
CJ Greaves knowing when to capitalize there on Dylan with his 11th win of the season.
I like that too, a 13-peat, and he's already set that tone. He has that, that thought of, can he do it? Well, he wants to do it. As you see the unofficial results, the 929, CJ talked about how strong he has been throughout the season, the last half of the race, and that's the case.
Well, I mean, like I said, he figures out the track quicker than the next guy. So he's watching when to run high, when to start closing it off, when to open it back up. And I know that a lot of these guys also race motocross, but he's got an eye for it. We see it in Pro 4, we see it in the other classes. So right now he's the man to beat.
And he almost did it today, just not quite, Kate Osborne, but an excellent run by Dylan Poynton.
Yeah, Robbie, that's exactly what he said. He said just didn't have enough of the tank there to catch CJ. However, second place, it's the second time you've gotten second, both of them here at ERX here this season. Why are you so comfortable here at this track?
This track's just really technical, just like I've raced back home, and it's just been a really fun track. It's definitely my favorite track out here at ERX, and we've had a blast. You know, I couldn't have done it without all my guys. Weller Racing has this car just absolutely dialed. I just didn't quite have enough for CJ. It's been a great season running behind him and learning a lot. You know, he's really taught me a lot, but you know, I couldn't be happier with how our season's gone, my rookie year, and I couldn't thank my dad enough. Weller Racing, Dragonfire, Maxxis Tires, Raceline Wheels, and Vickery Motorsports. Everyone's just helped us out so much.
As you guys were saying there in the show, he was definitely watching CJ to learn some things from him as well.
Yeah, and Corey Weller, actually the winner last year in the Pro Stock UTVs, knows how to go around here. As you look at the standings with only 2 more rounds remaining, 53 points, it's pretty safe to say CJ's got a championship in the back pocket, but he wants that perfect season, Ricky.
Yeah, there's only been a few athletes when it comes to motocross and car racing and things like that that have ever had a perfect season, because there's so many things that can happen because you have, 1, competitors, 2, all these moving parts. So CJ Greaves is well on his way, though.
It hasn't happened yet. CJ hadn't swept yet, and Jake Lunderby might have something to say about it, Kate. He finishes 3rd today, but another strong finish.
Another strong finish for sure for Jake, you know, but you actually just said that you had a couple of laps there that you were trying to figure out the track. Was that really what we were seeing as what looked to be an issue?
Yeah, I mean, I was struggling at the beginning of the race. Dylan and CJ, they both ran a good race, and CJ got by me, and I was struggling in the whoops and over here in the right hand in front of the grandstands, but the last 3 laps I figured it out and was able to get back in 3rd.
I'd say you got back in 3rd, did that just well. Thank you so much, Jake Lunderby. Congratulations.
And finishes on the podium, showing the 3 sign there. As we complete the Pro Stock UTVs, we'll fire up the Pro Mod UTVs here in just a moment. We're at Elk River for TORC, the Off-Road Championship presented by AMSOIL.
Turo Trailblade Tires, the weapon of choice for wherever you want to go.
When it comes to guarding your engine, AMSOIL offers the next level performance enthusiasts demand. AMSOIL provides 75% more engine protection against horsepower loss and wear than required by a leading industry standard, extending the life of pistons and cams. Give the vehicle you love the above and beyond protection it deserves. AMSOIL, devoted to protection.
You see a nice breeze blowing, but it is toasty hot. 90 plus degrees is what they're expecting today. In our booth, it's about 195, it feels like, here at TORC, the Off-Road Championship presented by AMSOIL. As they're taking out the railroad tracks on that far right, they bring in the dozer and a roller, Ricky Johnson.
Yeah, because they try to pack it so that the first couple laps were side by side and so close, they want to make sure that the guys aren't on top of each other. But as the race spreads out a little bit, they want it to get rougher and rougher and try to take other lines. But I'm going to stand behind it. I'm going to start a petition. I want to see him take that center lane out for the last day. A lot of people like it. I know that people like it from here, but I think with it being so sandy and rough, and if you've been to Millville and you've seen the whoops, and we've seen the whoop monster there, it creates its own animal there, because as guys are going through and they're going side to side, it's going to get rough, and you can take it at different cadence and different lines, and I think the sand will be the great equalizer, and then it won't force guys to pick one lane or the other.
And you say some people like it, I do like that it's split lanes, because one line's faster, but then it gets beat and they have to make a change sometime during that race. I like that point. But one thing I didn't think about is what you said. What if they wipe it out and you just have a sloppy sand section for that final day? I wouldn't mind seeing that because you're not seeing the same track day after day after day. So that's something they might want to think about because it's an easy fix here with all this good equipment.
Yeah.
One thing I want to point out is no matter what, there's some young guns in our field, and if you've been watching on YouTube.com/TORC this past week, the first installment of the Young Guns. They might have got to see your son in there this past week.
It's great because there's so much heritage in this sport, from Kincaids to Greaves to the list goes on. And the young guys, the guys that are coming from snowmobile racing, Andrew Carlson, you have all the Klymans that they go out and they harvest trees and do all this crazy stuff. Seeing behind the scenes of what these young guns have to go through to try to get here. Some of them, it's a little easier to get here, but once they get here, they all have the same fight on their hands.
Yeah, it's a different journey than a lot of people. It's not just handing over money and going out there and racing your truck. No, it's a lot of hard work, developing your product to sell yourself and make that money to spend on it. But again, it's youtube.com/TORC. But take a look at it. It started this past Wednesday, and it'll be on for several Wednesdays, at least 7 different episodes ending on December 6th. So take a look at this. It's Young Guns.
A new generation is rising, an inevitable force primed to lay claim to what is theirs. This is Young Guns.
Pretty cool, Ricky Johnson, as you see him. Show him what you're doing. Show him, yeah, cash money, playa. Young Guns love cash. I'll take one, you take one. But yeah, it is pretty cool. We'll get to see a part of it last week, and it'll be on September 20th is when it started, the October 4th, 18th, 1st, November 15th, 29th, and then 6th. And if you want to follow it out, all you have to do is youtube.com/TORC. But you talk about the Vision Wheel Bad Mofo Award custom wallet with $250 cash. Somebody's going to pick the winner. They design who that is, so it's an impartial judge. But one of our competitors in the pro truck categories will get $250 compliments of Vision Wheel. And I think that's an awesome little side job because they're trying to do what they're trying to do. That's win races.
Well, yeah, and the thing is sometimes, and we've seen it. We saw Cody Conrad, first time he got on the podium and stuff, and he won the Bad Mofo Award. We've seen guys have dominant weekends and not walk away with it, and we've seen guys come from behinds, or we've seen it to where they've swept. Or they won their first race. So it's anything that this, and I hate to make it over dramatic, but we're not the ones that get to choose it. We put our opinions out there, and we've hit it a couple times, but it's always something different. And so it's great because as a racer, sometimes you need a little pick-me-up. And what's great about what's awesome about this is some guy's going to be somewhere at a bar with his buddies or Chili's or wherever hanging out, and he's going to pull this out, and it's going to be a conversation piece. And they're going to say, what is that? And that's going to spark up that moment, that day in 2017 in Elk River, Minnesota. I was the Bad Mofo, and no, I spent that money, but you can still buy me a drink. So thank you, Vision Wheel. This is an awesome deal. We had the Oakley Bomb Award in the past, which was kind of cool when we started the TORC series, and that was whoever had the fastest lap. So there was a lot of pride going into that because even if you got beat, but you came from behind or you did something, it was great to get up there. And Johnny Greaves would like to push it in each other's face. Same with Scott Douglas and Bryce Menzies, and him and CJ going back and forth. So it was a little award that you took with you that maybe you didn't win, but you walked away with it. So this is a great deal for racers.
Do you have any of those bombs laying around you want to give your buddy Robbie Floyd? I could sure use a watch, but because that's the cool thing, because I guarantee no matter what, whenever you pull that out at a restaurant or a drinking a sandwich, you're going to say, what's that?
Bomb.
I'm a Bad Mofo. That comes out every time somebody asks.
Exactly, but trying to carry your bomb around, you look a little weird, and trying to get it through airport security nowadays.
What is this?
What is that? Oh, it's a fast lap award.
Yeah.
Shaped like a bomb.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. So I've been doing, I learned some I'm a crafty guy because my mom would always do cool stuff and make me like frame pictures and stuff like that. So I always try to make it a little special, put the money and kind of flare it up a little bit.
You're the guy that counts money. How much money you got there? 10, 20, 30, 40. Then you flip it over.
Right.
50, 60, 70. That's you.
And it would amaze me when I go to Japan, man. They said they go really fast. All right, let's wrap it up. Let's move on to something else. I can't wait for today. We are going to see some great racing, and it's going to be a makeup day, you know, for obviously for the spring. But look at the dirt, Robbie. Robbie, imagine getting out there on a factory KTM 450, tons of horsepower, smooth track like that. I think I could beat Ryan Dungey at this point. Sitting here in the announcer's seat, I think that I could beat Hurlings, Dungey, all of them.
Well, you're looking at this track also and knowing that you're going to give a ride to a special fan, you know, promotions and stuff. You're going to do that tomorrow and the next day. But I want to point out one thing, though, before we go to break, that we're this weekend without our biggest fan with TORC. Our good friend Peter Murphy passed away recently, and his wife, Sarah. You and I mean, it breaks our heart because that is an awesome dude.
Well, yeah, and I don't want to get choked up about it, but he was always there, and he would always just shoot you a photograph, and he was never like, oh, you owe me this for that picture or whatever. He was just so much fun to be around and just a pleasant, big teddy bear. Sarah, we're going to miss your man, and Peter, Godspeed, brother.
Godspeed, my friend.
For 41 years, winning drivers in all forms of motorsports have relied on VP Racing Fuels for leading-edge technology to optimize performance and power them to the winner's circle. Now you can get the same benefit with VP Mattitives, formulated for gas and diesel engines. It's race fuel technology for your daily driver and the perfect way to clean out your fuel system and put the power back in your drive. VP Mattitives are available at your local AutoZone store. For more information, visit vpracingfuels.com.
Fire them up. We're getting ready to kick off the second race of the afternoon for the Pro Mod UTVs this time. We're at ERX Motor Park, and this is an excellent facility the Carlsons have developed here. And there was no track just 2 years ago as far as short course off-road racing. Last year, the inaugural season. But we're glad to be back, and this is a makeup race for the spring. About 3 months ago, the rain came down, the winds brought everything down, and you couldn't ask for prettier conditions
What
today.
kind of conditions do we have, Robbie?
Tornadic conditions.
Tornadic.
We had an atmospheric weather change of monumental proportion that morning. Knocked the power out on the street lights as we were heading in. Grant Langston was my partner on that one, and it was bad, Ricky. I mean, that's one you're glad you don't make it to. And several, trucks lost their awnings and stuff, but, no one was injured. That right there used to be the leaning tower of TORC. It actually tilted over on its side, was there. But you see the seating opportunities for the fans here. Anytime you can have stands, it's one thing. But when you have that natural amphitheater with the grass, I love that.
But that's the thing. People might say, oh, it's not that big of a crowd. What people can't see on the other side of the track, there's a whole meadow up, like a park up there where we did our stand-up. And it's awesome because people have got camp chairs up there.
Shaded.
They're shaded. It's awesome. So this is not the only viewing point from this track that they're all around. So we're not going to be able to see every spectator all the time, but we have a great crowd here at ERX.
Yeah, and that's where Scott Rain and Brent Smith are. They're in there to the right. Race Control also in center. Double O, P-Rock, he's in there as well, mixing all the tunes. But that's the spotter stand up there on the top. It gives them a vantage point where they can see the entire track from the top there. Kate Osborne, where are you at?
Oh, I'm trackside right now, but I had to add to what you were saying. So round 3 was tornadic. Is that what you just called it, Bobby?
You were there. It was tornadic.
It was tornadic, actually. But one of the things I wanted to clarify is somebody in the paddock, you were talking about the leaning
tower of TORC.
Yeah, you know what I like to call it?
No, what is it?
You guys ready for this?
Ready. Go hit us.
Irene.
Irene.
It was leaning towards the track.
No, yeah.
Get it?
Get it. It's an Asian. It's an Asian.
That's wrong, Katie, but we hear you.
Anyways,
we hear you.
I just wanted to let you guys know.
Did she say Irene or Eileen?
Irene.
I think she got her name. So I like that, though. As you see the pro mods line up. Oh, look who that is. Look at that. You see that guy? That's CJ Greaves in the pro mod class, not just in the pro stock. And might be a point buffer looking for this, because the guy who we don't see in the pro mod UTVs is Rodney Van Eperen. Big crash, big motocross crash this past week. Took him out of action, broken ribs, front, backside, plated collarbone. The dude deflated lung, reinflated, deflated again. That dude was hurting for certain, and the motorcycle jumped up and bit Rodney Van Eperen, who sits second in championship point.
I walked by him. I said, "Hey, man, you should have called me. I could have let you know. Those things are dangerous. It will hurt you."
Yeah, with age comes a cage. He said, I was just doing some vet riding, vet racing, and everything was good on the 254 stroke. But when he went to his 165 two-stroke, things got a little ugly.
In the 125 class, we talked about that.
But Kyle Cheney is the points leader. But let me lay it out for you. The way that it looks like, if the man who is driving for Rodney Van Eperen, because they can transfer the driver points, is Johnny Greaves. It's the first time we've ever seen him in TORC in a UTV. He will be racing for Rodney. If Johnny continues to win and take one more qualifying spot, Rodney could win the championship in a tie at the final round, but it's going to be in Johnny Greaves' shoulders to do that. But Kyle Cheney knows what he has to do, and that is just beat Johnny Greaves.
Kyle Cheney just needs to do what he's been doing all year long. He drives hard, drives aggressive, and that Can-Am has got a lot of motor, so let's keep an eye on those guys.
Johnny Greaves up in front, Tim Farr. There's Johnny on the near side, Tim Farr outside of him, Kyle Cheney on that second row, the 891, Eric Gordon next to him, Luberg, Schultz on that third row, and Greaves with a big hole shot, but here comes on the inside, not able to do it, Tim Farr. Cheney on that inside, Tim Farr is on that outside. He drops back one more spot. Don't you think Cheney's saying, I got to get by right now and put the pressure on him and make him have to get around me?
But are they teammates, and will that? As we see, Farr goes around the outside, goes from third all the way up to first. So Farr is on a tear right now, and now we see Cheney taking a look at Johnny Greaves as well.
Again, this is the Pro Mod UTVs. The other driver I wanted to point out was CJ Greaves. He's back there in the mix. Oh, riding it on two wheels, driving out of that one. Solid move. As I talk about CJ Greaves in the back of the field, because he's not a full-time participant, he has to start in the rear.
And I take that back. That was actually Cheney that has come around and worked his way up into the lead. So Cheney with a great job as we watch this, and we see Cheney shooting out wide. We see Johnny Greaves looking to the inside, but Cheney running that cushion, and now we see the driver in third. That looks like Luberg getting up on two wheels. Great job on that bicycle, but he handles it.
So Johnny now having to play catch up, and that's the one driver he did not want in front of him. Kyle Cheney with one win out of Ohio. XPS Oil, CT Racework, Maxxis Can-Am. Nice yellow colors, easy to see him. Farr, as we see on our time and his score, and we're not seeing Greaves, but I should be him in second.
Yeah, it is Johnny in second place, but something happened with his transponder.
It's coming up
but
now.
I got to give it to Kyle Cheney. He came out so aggressive, went from third past Farr and Johnny Greaves, and now is pulling away. So Farr is doing, Cheney is doing exactly what he needs to do week after week, but Johnny as well, because I've been in this position. Oh, hey, I need you to come drive my car, and if you're not doing it every weekend, it's a little bit rough, and then you have that pressure that you don't want to lose a championship for somebody.
Luberg in third, Reiner fourth, Zach Zakowski right around that top 5 spot as well. And you know, this is a long race. It's a 12-lap race, as it looks like we have a full course caution, because evidently there was a big crash on the track. That's why the full course. What happened here? This is going into that last turn, Ricky.
Swaps a little bit, gets sideways, gets up on the bicycle, but doesn't quite catch it like Luberg, and over he goes side by side, end over end, and this is the hard one that comes down. It hits hard on the cage, so as you can see, as it starts to rip the front suspension apart, so a big crash, but looks like the driver is conscious.
823, Eric Schwartz out of Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Not how you want to put the Ellington Motor Insurance Polaris through its paces, and he's back on all 4 wheels there. But yeah, you talk about The flipping's not bad. It's when you make that contact with the roll cage, that sudden stop that gets you.
It's not the massive or the quick pace of life. It's the sudden stop at the end.
That's what they say about plane crashes. It's not that the plane did anything in the air. It's that sudden stop when you hit the ground. And then we don't want to make light of that, but it is tough, and you don't mind that thing doing that rotation or making contact with those wheels every so often.
Well, when you crash a side-by-side or UTV versus the bigger truck and stuff, it's a smaller, more like a ball. So it does give you that whipping
Rotate
effect,
quicker.
and sometimes you'll pop blood vessels in your eyes. It gets a little wicked. But in the bigger truck, sometimes it's a harder hit to each individual one, and so with being belted in, it'll knock the wind out of you and stuff like that.
Pop blood vessels in your eyeballs as we look at the Yamaha Pace vehicles for the UTVs. I try not to strain that much, but I hear where you're coming from. As you see, the cars will actually start nose to tail for restart, so he'll pull off, and Kyle Chaney will do it again. But I want to get back to what I was talking about earlier before we saw the replays. Kyle Chaney, he's in front, but Johnny really needs to go to school and figure out why is he in front and why is he quicker. And he still has quite a few laps to make a big difference. I mean, you've only got 2 completed laps of 12 and still the comp caution. So you're probably, if you're in second, you're still going to start nose to tail on the second half of that race. Let's go to Kate Osborne.
You know, Johnny hasn't actually ever been in Rodney's UTV except for one time. He said he drove it in the springtime when it was built, and then he said yesterday in practice was truly the first time he had been out racing it. He said that he felt good in practice, but this is the first time racing, and he actually wasn't really aware of how fast the guys were going out on the track of the UTVs.
Thanks, Kate. But mind you, Rodney's vehicle is built by Johnny in his group, and a lot of the same components. So even though it's not his, and it might have some tweaks here and there, she has to feel pretty comfy to Johnny Greaves.
Yeah, and Johnny Greaves is, but that shows you the level of this. I'm contradicting myself. That shows you the level of how good these drivers are. Johnny Greaves is one of the greatest, that will go down in history as one of the greatest off-road racers when it comes to short course. And he didn't just jump in here and destroy everybody. These guys are driving these cars 100% right on the edge. And for you to be that comfortable, you have to be in it all the time. So Johnny's quick, but he still is not doing anything better than Chaney at this point.
Certain things like this really help, but I talked about it at the start. There's 21 drivers in this. CJ Greaves had to start last. He's up to 12th. These cautions really help a guy that's super fast that starts out and back because he still has the comp caution. So keep an eye on CJ Greaves. He'll be in the 822, the mod cart that is typically Johnny's cart. Johnny's in Rodney's, mind you. And there we have Kyle Chaney leading in that XBS Can-Am.
Look how hard the
takes off, doesn't it?
Man. That thing has got motor under the hood. It runs good, and honestly, it looks like they've been working on the setup because it doesn't bounce around as much, and it looks like it's putting the traction to the ground a lot better and landing better than it has in the past. So they've done a great job with the suspension guy for Chaney.
Tim Farr, Jason Luberg, 3rd and 4th. Look at their battles side by side as they head into the split. Both of them having to take that right-hand turn. I think that's one of the most pivotal turns in the whole track.
Absolutely, because it sets up so much. It's not just through the sand. You got to be smooth through here, but also that puts you into Talladega. We see Johnny Greaves trying to get a handle on that whoop section before Talladega.
I saw one guy on the very inside that landed it pretty smooth. Not sure who it was, but you're right. Johnny come up just a little bit short, but he's trying to find that rhythm as well. CJ was 12th. That last lap, he's up to 7th now. So the one driver I couldn't identify in the darkness might have been CJ Greaves. Now, let's talk about the sequential gearbox or the paddle shift of the Yamahas, and that's not the case for the Can-Ams.
As we look in the back, I'm sorry, don't mean to change the subject, Johnny, but CJ Greaves is now up to 7th place. CJ Greaves is on a move. If he can get another yellow flag, this will definitely help him out.
Yeah, CJ in the white Monster Energy Yamaha there trying to get underneath Schultz, it looks like, in that turn as they go into the split section. So now let's just watch. We know how fast CJ was in the stock. Watch as they hit the kickers and head into that left turn. Does he do something special here?
Well, right now he can't because he's on the inside, but he's looking to try.
Yes, he does.
Both of them.
What are you telling me?
It down. Well, he didn't go all the way to the
Shut your
inside.
mouth, Ricky Johnson.
Robbie Floyd's awesome.
Nostradamus Floyd. Shut your mouth. Just because there's 2 drivers on both sides doesn't mean you can't have something special.
Hey, there is no iron team, but there is a driver. So now CJ Greaves has worked his way all the way up to 5th place. So he is running really strong. He's got the balance of the track and also this vehicle. So great job by CJ.
But if I look at the fastest lap of the race, it's not CJ. He has has the 5th quickest lap of the race. Kyle Cheney still the fastest on that last lap of 52.8, where CJ Greaves that last lap ran a 54.5. But keep clicking it off, working your way through traffic. Kyle Cheney's got, clean air.
Right, but will we see a competition yellow? We saw the yellow for a flip, so we might see another competition yellow, and that's going to put him right back in the mix. And see, that's where CJ's getting it done. He's doing the triple, or double, double, double. I keep saying triple, double, 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 and that's helping him get through that exit. But right now, Cheney Johnny is about 8 car lengths, not really going anywhere. There's CJ Greaves, who's making ground on everybody.
He is closing in on Jason Luberg, and Luberg was a winner here at ERX before as well. So look at this move, the 922 or 822 of CJ Greaves, the Monster Energy Yamaha as well. Landing downside on that jump. We know he likes to go inside. Surely he's going to do it. Yep.
Yeah, he comes in, sets up really light, a slight push, a little bit of bicycle, and then hangs on to it. But then he does not take Luberg out. He actually runs the other lane, and is it going to help him?
He rode the bicycle. He didn't chop the wheel. He didn't chop the throttle either. That is riding that ragged edge. As we take a look at the competition caution, Cheney, Johnny Greaves, Tim Farr, and it's going to be CJ Greaves in 4th, just ahead of Jason Luberg at the comp caution. We're going to have a heck of a race in the second half of this one, and it might not be Johnny Greaves driving for Rodney. It may be CJ. Kate, you have more?
Well, just remember, these guys have not yet been on the track as it relates to a race today. The top 3 haven't. CJ has. He had mentioned that it also took a bit to get comfortable here as that track has changed. Look for CJ the second half, as he's already half the laps that these others have had. Also, one thing to note about what Johnny Greaves had said earlier, these are scaled down versions of the Pro 4. So if you scale down your driving style to match that of this UTV, it's something to keep in mind as you're out running.
That's right, Kate, and that's what Rodney Van Eperen, he jumped back in at Crandon into his Pro 2, and I saw him that first time around. That thing didn't handle right. He wasn't used to the front wheels not climb. It took a little getting used to, and that's what he said. I am so amazed at how CJ could hop in the 2 and the 4 and be so fast and winning both championships.
Yeah, it's a very, very difficult thing to jump from one to the other. It's a lot easier when to drive the Pro 2 first and then the Pro 4 second, because you can be so much more aggressive. And as we saw with Ronnie Van Eperen, with these, it's more like a toggle switch. You're going wide open gas and very little hand movement, because the front wheels steer for you as well, because they're pulling for you. But in a 2-wheel drive, especially like a Pro 2, you're driving more with your rear wheel.
The Yamaha Pace vehicle is going to lead the crew in there. Kyle Cheney, who sits on top of the leaderboard as far as championship points with 1 victory this season. The story here is second place, Johnny Greaves, driving for Rodney Van Eperen, who needs some help. That's pretty much why CJ's in there, is help, because if both of those guys can get in front of Kyle Cheney, it helps. But if CJ gets in front and Johnny stays back, it does not help Rodney one bit, because there's only 2 points between each position.
If you carry the 3
and drop the 1,
4.
But if both of those guys get in front of Cheney, honestly, we might have a points swap here today.
Yeah, we have a situation that's what they've talked about this beforehand. So we'll see what happens as we're watching Cheney go right back to work, and then now we see Luberg taking a look underneath CJ Greaves. But it puts him on the outside.
Driving hard, there goes Greaves on the inside. He's got to turn it, but remember, the bicycle's bound to come. He drives really good, but he's going to be set up inside. Let's look at that race for 3rd and 4th. Farr and Greaves. Greaves going to be on the inside, comes out. Now, if he turns right, he can take any line he wants. That was an excellent time through that switchback for CJ. And there goes Johnny to the inside. Johnny Greaves trying to make the pass.
And how do you motivate Johnny Greaves? Tell him that CJ's on his bumper. So these guys, we see them dice at Crandon in the Pro 4s. Now we get to see him going back and forth in the UTV.
And it's everything that Johnny needs is CJ to get up in there as well. But that Can-Am's got more power. You can see him laying more power to the ground than the Yamahas right now.
Well, that's what we saw in the past, that the Yamaha handles a little bit better, but the way the configuration with the clutch and the motor on the Can-Am, it seems to pull a little bit more coming off the corner, but they're very even at the end of the straightaway.
Sometimes, though, when you have those automatics or you have that centrifugal clutch, they tend to get hot and they tend to burn up. Will that be a factor also for Cheney as we race?
I've talked to some of the Can-Am Polaris guys, and they run the motor so hard that's the problem, is they start eating belts.
There's Johnny. He got a pretty good. He just got a big kick on that last little kicker. If you can downside that one and get that drive forward, that's going to be monumental for these guys.
So the question is, will Johnny Greaves let CJ Biden go after Cheney? I don't think so. What he's going to try to do is they're both going to go try to chase him down. But CJ has been the faster driver coming all the way back from 15.
Oh, he just shut down Pops right there. That was a case.
Pop shut down CJ.
Excuse me. Pop shut down CJ that time. I don't know if he knew he was quite there.
Well, Johnny's just running as fast as he can. But with these guys dicing back and forth is exactly what Cheney wants. It's given him a chance to get out in front and get away from these guys.
And we don't want to take anything away from Kyle Cheney because he moved into the lead. He's leading, but you see the guy in third has been the quickest, you know, as far as making passes all day. Cheney's made 1 pass. CJ's made 18.
And this is the part where CJ gets it because watch, he doubles, then doubles into the corner and it sets him on the inside.
That's it.
And he makes the move on his dad, Johnny.
We said that. If he just made that downside, how is CJ able to do it? Is it maybe a shock package difference?
It could be. It's not a shock package. I think he's timing it and using brakes to preload a little bit and then also wind letting off to get the nose to come down so that you don't land nose wheel high, so he's able to time them a lot like a rhythm section on a supercross track.
So it's more a timing thing, not necessarily the compression and rebound of the vehicle.
It's not just speed because someone goes, oh, I just got to hit it fast. It's how you position the vehicle, and CJ wears that thing like, I don't want to sound weird, but like a ballet slipper. It's very tight. He knows every little nook and cranny of it, but now let's see if he can catch Cheney.
Like a soccer cleat. That'll sound more masculine for you there.
Like a boxing glove. How's that?
There you go. Now we're talking. That's very manly as the cushion is extending, but CJ was very fast that last time around in that section, and Johnny losing a little bit. So this is not what Rodney Van Eperen wanted. Is right now he's losing 4 points to Kyle Cheney in the championship.
But you saw that Cheney has figured it out. He's got that double going into the corner into Talladega. So that was CJ's big place where he was making time. So Cheney's just got to be clean and smooth and not overdrive the corners, and he can bring this home. Right now, where CJ is just under 2 seconds behind him. Let's see what he can do with the collapse coming up.
Kyle Cheney's last victory, his only victory in 2017 was back at Bark River. But you look at all of those second place finishes. His worst finish of the season was the last race at Crandon. He finished 5th. I mean, that's not bad, and everything else is pretty much second place except for a 3rd at Redbud. So this guy's been due for another victory, and today may be his day. Next time around, 1 lap to go.
Well, Kyle Cheney is still with about a 1.5 second lead right here. That's the jump that he's got it figured out, and he comes around the inside. So if he sees this white flag, he just, oh man, this is a pressure cooker for a guy. You know, you got the fastest guy behind you. You don't want to make that mistake.
And yeah, we talk about that. The fastest lap of the race, lap 5, was CJ Greaves of 52.36. Cheney's best was on the lap 4 at 52.80. So a 1/2 second faster CJ for 1 lap, but it's stringing together 12 solid laps, and that's everything that Kyle Cheney's been doing.
Right, and so Cheney now with some lappers, that is not a good sign, but you see the lappers like, okay, you're going outside, let me get the heck out of your way and let you race. So Kyle Cheney's actually pulled out a couple car lengths on CJ, so great job by Kyle.
Whoa. Swapping through the railroad tracks, and not too bad there, but again, such a big lead. The whoop section one more time. He can take it easy, keep that UTV neutral, and how about it? The 891 is now a 2-time winner in TORC and extends his championship points lead. And look at the distance behind CJ Greaves, over a 1.5 seconds as Johnny Greaves actually jumps into 2nd place on that last lap. So only 2 points difference between Cheney and Greaves in this race, but that separates even more for that championship. Kyle Cheney's your winner, and we'll hear from him in just a bit.
Trailblade Tires, the weapon of choice for wherever you want to go.
Cooper tires on the ground go round and round, round and round, round and round. Tires on the car are warranty. And what you need, the tires on the car help keep you safe. They grip the road when you hit the brakes.
Your tires matter, So count on Cooper, an American company since 1914.
The tires on the ground go round and round.
The green grass of TORC the Off-Road Championship is our final visit to Minnesota for the stop number 4, which should have happened about 3 months ago. And then we're looking underneath the 22 machine. But Kyle Chaney, he was without question the fastest man for 3 laps, and he takes his 2nd victory of the year. And he's caught up with Kate Osborne.
You can see the big smile on your face, Kyle. It's a great second win of the season, but more importantly, you had to maintain mistake-free, especially that second half of the race. How did you stay so cool, calm, and collected?
I've been driving side-by-sides for a while, and Johnny put the pressure on me, and I'm like, man, I got to get away from him. And I ended up pulling a little bit, and my spotter was telling me where they were gaining on me, and actually Johnny about passed me in the line where he told me to take. I just didn't know if I could take it. I didn't know if my car would work through it, and I took it, and I was going to the outside of the inside of the whoops, and it worked great. And I think that's what saved my race right there. And we got this thing running awesome. We put an Evo tune in it. You know, most of the year we've been running, you know, mainly stock tunes. We put an Evo tune in it, STM clutch, and these new Maxxis tires, and the thing was hooking. It was great today. And you know, I just want to thank my whole team and XPS Oil and CT Raceworks for building the car. Fox Shocks, we finally got the shocks where they need to be, I think. And no, it's been great. DWT Wheels, just thank everybody for, you know, that's been here, and hopefully we can do it 2 more days.
Big points day for Kyle Chaney here as well, guys.
Yeah, and he talked about that fresh clutch and setup in there, and that, I mean, he was definitely grabbing hard today.
Yeah, I was impressed that he was able to adjust to the track and listen to his spotters, and that's what he said coming into there. He's like, I don't know if my car can do it, but that's what's going to win a championship, is being able to adapt to the track and also get faster as the race goes on.
Looking at Thomas Reiner, a 5th place. That's going to be one of his better finishes of the year, coming off of that 3rd at Crandon. Congratulations to him, another top 5. But Johnny Greaves wasn't able to finish in front of Chaney, but he's still keeping him in the running for the championship, Kate.
Hey, I'd say pretty good for his first UTV race here in TORC. How much extra pressure do you put on yourself, knowing that you're not just running for a championship for yourself, but actually for someone else's championship?
You know, it's a big deal for me right now. You know, me and Rod have been good friends forever, and you know, it's unfortunate that I'm even in this position, but it is what it is. And you know, there's definitely some stuff to be learned here every time I go out in this thing. And practice and qualifying went good, but the track's perfect. And then as it gets rougher, I gotta, you know, adjust and figure this thing out. But you know, CJ was really fast, and I got lucky. He got a flat tire, and the throttle body started coming loose in the end. And he started backfiring, and I'm like, don't ruin that motor. So anyway, we got 2nd. Rodney's still in this fight, and we'll just keep fighting for him.
Johnny Greaves taking a 2nd place here today in his first ever TORC UTV event.
Yeah, Johnny says don't ruin that motor because that's my motor.
Exactly.
That's the 822. That's the deuce of Johnny Greaves. But you see the points separation between Chaney, Van Eperen, and Parr. And it's still Van Eperen with a shot at the title. But CJ talking about the throttle body, something might have happened there. That's actually what took Van Eperen possibly put him behind. He had that throttle body problem at Chicago at the 2nd round, or else this might be a different ball game. But a flat tire and a throttle body issue, and CJ drops back to 3rd. Let's go down trackside.
Yeah, he says he doesn't know how many other lucky shots he could have gotten in that one. CJ, looked like you dealt with some issues there at the end. Actually, from your point of view, we heard a bit from Johnny, but what really is the issue?
You know, the throttle body fell off, throttle return spring broke, so you'd hit a jump or anything and the throttle would just fall down to the floor on its own, and we were trying to get that back up. We ended up with a flat tire, but I know we definitely had a fast car. We had to start last. At halfway, we were over a 2nd faster than everyone on the field, so if this car, we can get it, fine-tune it, get throttle body back on, get some air in these tires, I think we're going to play spoiler here this weekend.
And as your dad said, save the motor.
Good job, though, in the smiling face of CJ Greaves, and he's got to buckle up and get ready because the Pro 4s will be coming up here in just a bit. We're done with the UTVs. About time to fire up the big boys here in Minnesota.
When it comes to protecting your engine, AMSOIL offers the next level performance truck owners demand. AMSOIL provides 75% more engine protection against horsepower loss and wear than required by a leading industry standard, extending the life of pistons and cams. Give the vehicle you love the above and beyond fortification it deserves. AMSOIL, devoted to protection.
Rugged radios. Work, race, play.
Hey, Steve, where you at?
Experience clear communications through headsets or helmet kits.
I'm up on the hill to your right. Oh, there you are.
Talk vehicle to vehicle.
Keep the radio contact going. Copy?
Talk to passengers.
Copy that, I gotcha.
And stream your favorite music. Complete communications for UTVs, base camp, toy haulers, or off-road vehicles. Rugged radios, the authority in communications.
Actually having to spray some water down here in ERX because it rained this morning and we knew the track conditions should be perfect, but they're actually having to lay down some beautiful little rainbows from that nice water truck as trying to keep the track nice and prepped and fresh. Bring out the grader, the dozer, the packer, the roller. They do it all here, and it is an excellent facility at ERX Motor Park, one of our newest stops on TORC, the Off-Road Championship. Kyle Chaney takes a win. Johnny Greaves second. CJ Greaves with a little mechanical issues on that final lap finishes third. Track starting to look pretty good, Ricky. I like it for the small ones. Now we're going to try and open it up for more horsepower, a lot more horsepower, bigger tires. How will this track hold up now that we go into the big machine?
That's going to get beat up, and that's what we're looking for. You know, it's good. We want it to. This is off-road racing. We don't want it so perfect. You know, I like the. For myself as a driver, I like the track to be very predictable and raceable the first couple laps. That way, when you're running side by side, the braking distances and stuff like that, you can drive a lot closer around 2 and 3 vehicles. But as it starts to get beat down, I like to see lines start to get rougher. So the preferred line isn't the preferred line anymore. So it changes lap after lap, and so it's the driver that can adapt and overcome and also figure it out. Just like we just saw Kyle Chaney figure it out, and CJ Greaves had it figured out very, very quick. So that is very important when it comes to who's going to cross the finish line first.
All right, let's be honest with ourselves here. A lot of times you don't get the opportunity to drive before your main class, and the main class for Johnny CJ Greaves is a Pro 4. After coming directly off this track and hopping into a bigger, badder, stronger, faster vehicle, how much advantage will they have initially? Or is it later in the race when you know it breaks down that you kind of know where things are going?
Well, and now CJ Greaves has been the master of jumping out of one vehicle and jumping into another. Last year it was Pro 2 and Pro 4. This year it's side by UTV and Pro 4. So your braking points when you let off the gas, how deep you drive into the corner, and that's going to be the biggest thing, is that the UTV is so much smaller and lighter and slower mile per hour. You can drive it so much deeper into the corner. Your braking points are so much different. So Johnny Greaves has not done that all year long, so it could be hard on him when it comes to these first couple laps figuring out your braking points, because as he said, every time he gets in that side-by-side it's a little different each time, but now he's back in the four-wheel drive, the Pro 4, and let's see what happens. But CJ has been the one to adapt a little bit quicker.
Well, it's a cool looking track, both from a fan's perspective but also a driver's perspective. And now we're going to go on board a little slower lap, but the AMSOIL Rusty's off-road truck of Scott Douglas. Scott is able to take us around ERX and show us what it looks like from inside the cockpit of a slightly different vehicle.
Hey, I'm Scott Douglas. We're here at ERX for the final rounds of the TORC series, and I want to take you guys around for a lap. Okay, we're pacing down here. We're about to take the green flag 2 by 2, going up through the gears, going to be in third gear, hitting this tabletop right here. Now there's a dish right when you land. You want to clear this tabletop, land into this dish if you can. And you have a blind right-hander, turn 1 you're coming up on. You want to be on the outside and then duck down to the apex. And we're in third gear, we're hard on it, and we're accelerating out. About here, we're getting into high gear, and now this is a really mellow hill jump, but you fly a long ways and you land pretty hard. So we're wide open off this thing. You can't see where you're doing. Now you have to get ready for this short little jump, which is something new they put in. We jump into this hard, and then we give it an aggressive squirt and hard on the brakes. Right about here, downshift to third, downshift to second, rotate the truck right here. Now you have a decision. You're right or left split lane. and it's depending on which one's better. We're going on the right one right here, the outside. When it's clean and fast, this is the fastest way whenever it's not rutted. And we'll go through here, going up through the gears once again. So we fly off of here and we land right about here, and they've added a couple more whoops. So we come into these whoops as hard as we can. Double, you'll almost double the second one, and then you set the car and turn it, and you hit that third one sideways and hope that there's not a big rut where you're gonna hook. Now you gotta get a clean exit out of here. You kinda go high, you start diving down in the midsection of the corner, and your third gear running up as fast as you can on this thing, and right at the top, you either breathe it or brake check it just a tick to get your front end down. If not, you're gonna be nose high like I did in practice. Really accelerate as hard as you can on this little short chute. It's these little sections you make the time up. You start setting the truck downshift to second, and you throw the car right about here. You'll throw it, you'll be about midline in the corner, because we wanna run and hit this tabletop as fast as we can, because once again, we wanna clear that dip right there. So there's a lap around ERX, and I'm happy to take you around it.
Cool little lap around ERX here, and yes, it only stays smooth for so long, and things are about to get much rougher. As you see, the Pro 4-wheel drives are over there in the shady staging area, and I can tell you how important it is. And I'm witness to it because I took a lap around Redbud with you, and how hot it was there. I burnt my shoes, literally burned a hole through my shoes, but you could burn a hole through everything out here. And you want to talk about hot? Let's talk about how hot the action was at Crandon at round number 11. Ross Hook with a good start. A bad over-rotation from Chad Horde there. But this was an exciting race throughout.
Well, we had torrential downpour. We thought we weren't going to see any racing, but now we're watching Scott Douglas work his way around Ross Hook. Ross Hook doing a great job holding off in second place, but then you can see Scott Douglas get a little bit sideways coming in, but it was Johnny Greaves was on a tear at this point, and now we see his son and rival CJ Greaves start to catch up to him and was able to get close, but the race between the two of these guys was awesome. Now CJ shoots to the inside. Is it revenge?
Yes, it is. Contact, and I thought he was going to take his nose, but instead he took his tail.
But CJ did a great job, and I don't think he's trying to kill him. And then you can see Johnny.
You're grounded for the night.
Yeah, Johnny says you're grounded. So right there, CJ Greaves did an awesome job. Came from the back, missed some controversy, had some controversy. Not to his fault, but getting tangled up with Scott Douglas and those guys, and then working his way back to past Johnny. So that was a great. I love watching those kind of races.
And took the win, but it also took the championship points lead. But some big jumps here at Crandon, and that one in particular is the finish line jump. And I talked to Scott Douglas. Yes. Oh, sorry, ERX. Sorry, I said Crandon.
That's all right.
I talked to Scott Douglas before we got in our booth, and he said he pushed the envelope a little bit too much on that thing in practice. He said he got the back bumper in there. It's not about just holding it wide open, because that is not the fast way. Sometimes you have to trail brake and find your timing. And I said, is it a point in the track, like a braking point? He said, no, it's a feel thing. You got to feel it in your butt and hands, don't you?
Exactly. When you come into that, you want to come to it, and then you end up dragging a little bit of brake coming off of that jump. But if you go too much, it's going to bury your nose. Then you can endo. I saw John Marking do that out at a core race. I told him drag a little brake. He's locked the brakes up, endoed his
centrifugal force makes the front end drop.
It just threw him over. So if you ride motorcycles, you can go in the air and pull in the clutch, tap the back brake to stop that rotation to drop the nose. Here you have to do it all on the takeoff, and so it's a version of a scrub. When the thing wants to preload and get high, you drag a little brake to keep it low. But as Scott says, it's a feel. Because you can't, it's different every time.
Ooh, it's a toasty one in here. It's a hot day, and they will feel it out there. But one thing I know, you can buy a bag of ice or two with our Vision Wheel Bad Mofo Award.
I'm thinking go down to the A&P or something like that, or the Stop and Go, and grab us a couple big thirsty 2-ounces with some ice. It's hot in here. So
that's almost Kate Osborne's Starbucks money just for the weekend.
She doubled down because she was a couple minutes late, and she's never late. I'm always the late one.
She's not going to let you live that one.
So she can let me down. But let's talk about the Bad Mofo Award from Vision Wheel. It's awesome. The money was created by one and only. I'm going to go third person by Ricky Johnson. But $250,000 Bad Mofo Award, and it's not just about who's the fastest.
Yeah, no, it could be a special moment, made the best pass of the race, a hard charger. I mean, CJ's not eligible for that one as far as the UTV, but you know, he just got through making 18, 19 passes. It might be somebody like that that didn't win, but you have to race a pro truck to be eligible, whether it be Pro Light, Pro 2, or Pro 4. What are you thinking? You're smiling.
I'm laughing because we're both staring at the money. And have you ever had somebody when you got a new stereo in your car and you look and you put on a thing like, man, check out how rad my stereo is, and you both stare at the head of the stereo like that's the focal point.
Yeah.
So as you and I, it's hard not to look at the money, right?
I always look at the money. Kate, we know she looks at the money, and Kate, you know the young guns always look at the money.
Go ahead, Kate.
Oh, yeah. The young guns look at the money. I look at the money. You two, I know you look at the money. And where you can find the Young Guns show is youtube.com/torque. And this is one of those shows that you just don't want to miss. This is the unbelievable stories behind how these guys get here, what they do to get here, how they prepare. And, you know, I think the neatest thing about what TORC offers is the fact that you can start young. We have kids running. They're like, they come up to our knees and they're still in these cars. They're trying to get experience. And I think TORC really facilitates to that. And I know I'm stoked about it. 7 p.m. Eastern. Again, on YouTube. Don't miss out your chance to watch it. Here's a little taste of what Young Guns is all about.
Make sure I have enough speed, I'm not chipping over.
A new generation is rising, an inevitable force primed to lay claim to what is theirs. This is Young Guns.
Can't wait to see the Young Guns, as the Young Guns, a few of them have lined up for the Pro 4 race. I guess, can we consider CJ? I know he's not necessarily. I mean, he's a young gun and an old gun. He's definitely, without question, a young age driver. But I mean, his skill is well beyond his years.
Yeah, and he's been doing this from such a young age, and you know, like you said, he started. What's great is the guy he grew up with racing motocross was Thomas Covington, Mitch Covington is who helped Johnny, was part of helping him with getting the Monster sponsorship and help write proposals and stuff like that. And was also the co-founder of the TORC series.
And Thomas is a motocross.
And Thomas Covington won the last GP in the MX2 class. So it's great to see two kids basically out of Green Bay that they met just at like a Thursday night practice somewhere, and they became friends and they raced together, and then Mitch helped Johnny, and Johnny, they went back and forth. So to see both of these young guys having success along with the rest of the young guns, it's great to see Mitch Dorr, the Klymans, Luke Johnson, it goes on, and then also Keegan Kincaid and Cam Reimers, and if I'm forgetting a couple, I apologize, but it's great to see because they all have different backgrounds, but they all have the same passion. And so I'm excited about that. We've had the first installment of it. Rich and Ryan, who put that together with MSI and everything. It's cool. It shows the behind the scenes, and that's what we need. We need people to understand that this is not just a bunch of rednecks out running around the field.
I totally agree with you, Ricky. Although sometimes you see those cameras up in your grill when you least expect it, but. Yeah, the thing, I mean, it's different, but it is cool, and it takes you behind the scenes, and you and I have seen it through the years, and I think it kind of brings, instead of bringing the fans to the sport, it brings the sport to the fans.
Well, and if you're new to the TORC series, go on YouTube and look up some of the earlier years, the stuff that BJ Burtwell did with that, and some of the stuff with the Johnny Greaves and myself battles and screaming at each other and calling each other names and stuff like that, and the great battles that went on through all the different classes with Bryce Menzies and CJ and the list goes on and on. Chad Horde and Scott Douglas. Ross Hook also has some great one-liners, but you can go in there and you can look at some of the history of this. So it's great. The Young Guns is awesome and the current state of the sport is good, but do a little history and go on YouTube. I was there trying to find my bio and try to find the different races that I'd won and things that I did. And I totally got sucked into to the different races from the past, because we did some great stuff in Charlotte in the past, Texas.
Do you have a
California.
favorite race of all your TORC events? Do you have a favorite?
Yes, the one that really pissed off Johnny Greaves, and this one, and I was so proud of myself because not because I smacked into him and knocked him out of the race. I wasn't proud of that, and I know people don't want to believe me when I say that, but it was when I chased him down at Bark River, and Charlie Sleevey was in my ear saying, "You have to be perfect. You can't make a mistake." And I drove as hard as I could, and it was completely present for the last 2 laps. Got on him. He made one small mistake, and I committed. Unfortunately for Johnny, I hit him and knocked him out. I thought that I just moved him out of the way, but I hit him pretty hard and broke his vehicle, and he DNF'd, and then
it wasn't good.
The mayhem ensued. Wow, that elevated quick.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, spectators had tridents and all kinds of crazy stuff.
That's when they made that show, The Experienced Guns.
That's it. There's all kinds of names that you can put in for that, but a lot of great history, a lot of great heritage. But this is a great track.
All right, let's look at this. There's the hairpin as they head toward the split section. You see that one lane in there. That's the one that Ricky's trying to vote for to get removed, is that middle part for the third and final round here in this triumvirate of races. So again, this round was supposed to have happened 3 months ago. So this, from a driver's perspective, should be round 4, but you can't look at it. You almost have to look at it as not 3 races complete, and now we're racing. This is only 3 races from the end of my season.
Yeah, and everything comes down to this. And, because you think, well, if I have a problem, I got a couple weeks to fix my vehicle. No. If you have a problem today, you have to fix it tonight, all night long, and be ready the next day. And then if you have a problem that day, you got to fix it all night and be ready for that day as well. So a lot of pressure going in for the mechanics and the crews and people, like Ross Hook. We were helping him set up his awning yesterday, and he's got a skeleton crew getting over here. He's like, only a couple hours sleep, the past couple things, and the passion and the dedication that people put in to get to these races, and now they finally get to throw it down. Yep,
and you see the crowd and the fans on hand. This is a work day. People should be at work right now, working a busy work day at that. So to have any crowd or fans and the people that are on the other sides of the hills and in the trees and camping and stuff like that, I mean, it's cool that they can make it a 3-day weekend. But, yeah, this is a work day today and a makeup race from when we were supposed to have had it happen earlier in the spring.
So we're going to see the seams popping tomorrow when it comes to that. But it's great that we have such good weather, and Mother Nature has smiled upon us, gave us a great watered track, and now we get to go racing.
Is that a VIP facility over there? I haven't been able to make it in. I don't have the right armband, Ricky.
We got the VI Heat station over here as we see the Pro 4s rolling onto the track.
Look at that Toyota Escondido Pace vehicle gets ready to prepare to lead out these Pro 4-wheel drive. Still have some UTVs out there on the track, and not really. That's not the hot pit, is it?
Yeah, that is.
It is it.
Those are the super stock ones with the buddy race. So they kind of switch.
So yeah, the track was further to where they were, the further to their left. But yeah, I guess that's a pretty good area to go off and back on, as long as there's no mayhem happening out on the track. I think that's the official Jeremy Meyer Lake. I don't know what he's going to stock in there. It's not very big.
It's going to be a koi pond.
You're right. We'll be looking for Brad Lovell in the Pro 2-wheel drive race, but first up, it's the Pro 4s. But it's not just about Pro 4s. There's a lot of racing today, but we're kicking it off with the 4s. But what does it take to race, whether it be the Pro Light, the Pro 2, or the Pro 4?
Well, in Pro 4, we see it's got a max of 440 cubic inch. It's around 750 to 900 horsepower, depending on who's turning on that. 20 inches of wheel travel, 4,100 pounds. the length is 113 to 122 inches with a project tire. So this is not a DOT tire. This is a custom race tire. They have compounds that they can go softer. Keegan Kincaid is on the Cooper soft because he feels that's going to give him the advantage that he's looking for.
More suspension, more horsepower, heavier, bigger wheelbase. As we see the starting lineup, Ross Hook's going to be on the right side, so that'll be the inside heading into the first turn. Next to Scott Douglas, Keegan Kincaid in there as well. You see Keegan Kincaid on that Traxxas Cooper Tires entry on that second row. Next to Johnny Greaves, there's the starting area. CJ and Al Drews on that back row. But it's Ross Hook with the start, Scott Douglas in second. And is that CJ just getting a mouthful? No, that's Johnny. And what happened to Keegan?
Keegan had to check up for Scott Douglas, and now we see Johnny looking up the inside. But no, I take that back. Yes.
Yeah, that's Johnny.
Johnny looking to the inside. Both Ross with a great jump, and Ross is one of the only guys with that ATD automatic transmission. So it's a turbo 400, a lot like what you see. And Johnny Greaves jumps past Scott Douglas into second place.
And now that Greaves is in second, did you see how tight it was for these trucks in those narrow lanes? It's fine for maybe a UTV or something, but the first race of the day here in the big trucks, the Pro 4s, they use all of that space. And now Douglas goes to the outside trying to drive around, get by CJ, but CJ holds him off.
CJ runs that inside. Scott Douglas looking back to the outside, going to try to get a run in turn one. But now you can see the track is already starting to blow the soft stuff off, and the cushion is getting higher and higher.
Johnny Greaves will be on the outside. He makes contact with Ross Hook. Ross, slower, sometimes better. Johnny squares it up early. Look at this. Johnny takes the inside. CJ takes the inside. Will Ross Hook come out on top in this? That's too wide, Ricky.
Johnny Greaves with a great run, but watch how he doubles, and he did this in there, doubles the last one and gets on the inside of Ross Hook, and now CJ looking to the inside gets a run on Ross as well.
Especially with the Pro 4s, you don't want to get too wide because the shorter distance in the Pro 4 typically is the faster line.
Well, we've seen in the past that chasing the cushion here, yesterday during practice, the cushion was definitely the place to be, but right now, the inside line is the fast way around.
Let's go to Kate Osborne.
One thing that Johnny Greaves has worked on over the course of his years here racing is to be more patient. He said he watched some replays recently, and he says he didn't even realize it was him. He definitely has helped minimize those mistakes, being more patient, and he also thinks it's made him more consistent.
And Kate talking to Johnny, Johnny said this track is a perfect CJ Greaves track because he is patient like that. Johnny's a more aggressive guy in overdrives. And you've talked about it. You've raced guys that really push it too hard at the wrong time. They think that more RPMs, foot on the ground, means faster, and that's not always the case.
Yeah, and if you watch the attitude of CJ's truck versus Johnny's, when he rolls on the gas, it's a little smoother transition where Johnny jumps on the gas really hard, and it works. I mean, you can't take anything away from the winningest guy in Pro 4, but CJ is typically a little cleaner, a little more tidy, and if you've heard me announce this before, you're going to say, I've heard it all before. But watch when he comes in. He opens up the entry a little bit, comes in, and he waits, and he's a little bit softer on the gas coming off, and now he's going to take the left lane.
Again, it's just like ballet for these guys. They should be just left and right and look like synchronized swimming. But Johnny's a little quicker on that outside line here, but CJ just needs to do something different until it comes to that perfect time.
Well, Johnny figured out that double and actually got it really clean, and that forced CJ to use the inside and then that pinch the exit, which giving Johnny about a 2-car length lead. And now Johnny is really looking like he's figuring out the rotation and the timing, getting on the gas and off the gas. So Johnny Greaves adapting very well.
Johnny's really fast. We saw him fast at Crandon as well. Was out in front until literally the very last straightaway. It's CJ doing a little bump and run move, but CJ doesn't have to make that pass right now. He can learn a few things, because once you get out in front, you typically have to maybe run a more defensive line at times, but learn something. Nobody's that close to him. Ross Hook's back there about 4 or 5 seconds behind. This is your time, if you're CJ Greaves, to kind of make it happen later in the race.
But if they leave in this position, that puts them tied for the point.
Right.
You work that hard. CJ Greaves has 5 victories. Johnny has 3, and so you don't want to do that. You fought in this hard. You want to walk away with a lead. So what CJ is trying to do at this point, in my opinion, is he's trying to stay out of the roost and trying to be very clean.
I want to correct you. 6 wins for CJ. Johnny has 3, I believe. But Kate Osborne, you got something?
Well, I asked CJ earlier today what it would mean if he won the championship. He's won, some in the past. Well, he said it would actually make it that much sweeter this year because he's struggled so much throughout the season. I know we wouldn't think it struggles, but to CJ Greaves, he's really had an up and down season. Another thing he said, he thinks his team is stronger here this year due to the ups and downs he's had.
When my ups and downs is they're side by side, when my ups and downs are having a couple of fourth place finishes, I know I'm having a good year in both of these guys. That's their worst finish is a fourth place. I mean, that's strong, but in that time right there, you saw them side by side. That outside lane is quicker. We're seeing the front too. If everybody else keeps taking that outside lane and CJ's the only one taking that inside, eventually that outside may wear itself out before that 14th lap.
I mean, we're watching Dr. Evil and Mini-Me right now, and watching him, that Johnny's doing exactly what CJ's doing, and he's learning from him. He is pitching out a little bit more than him, but watch the cadence of the two different trucks. Even though Johnny bicycles, now he can't help that. You got to do what you got to do. And now he's going to lose a lot of time trying to gather it back up in that sand. That sand multiplies the time when it comes to mistakes.
So with CJ now out in front and Johnny in second, let's take a look at this. How did it go down? There's CJ, there's Johnny on two wheels.
He just grabs a hold of the throttle. He's still turned in a little bit. The sand bit him a little bit because you can't read because he's got roost in his eyes.
So a competition caution. So CJ makes that pass before that halfway point of the race, but you saw a little bobble from Johnny there. But we're going to get to re-rack them and restack them for the second half of this Pro 4 race at ERX Motor Park in Minnesota.
When it comes to protecting your engine, AMSOIL offers the next level performance truck owners demand. AMSOIL provides 75% more engine protection against horsepower loss and wear than required by a leading industry standard, extending the life of pistons and cams. Give the vehicle you love the above and beyond fortification it deserves. AMSOIL, devoted to protection.
Cooper tires on the ground go round and round, round and round, round and round. Tires on the car are warranty. And what you need, the tires on the car help keep you safe. They grip the road when you hit the brakes.
Your tires matter. So count on Cooper, an American company since 1914.
The tires on the ground go round and round.
Couple of Greaves, 1 and 2 CJ. Johnny with Keegan Kincaid back in third. He was over 11 seconds behind, but after the competition caution, he knows that he's still back in this. Want to talk about Keegan Kincaid. The problem he keeps having is with his power steering. It keeps going out. He thought they had it figured out, and in practice 1 yesterday, it was solid. He said best he's had it all year, and then practice number 2, it went out again. So they went back to that setup that they had for the past few races, and hopefully he can have power steering the second half of this race. The young gun, CJ Greaves, leads his father, Johnny. They're 1 and 2 in this Pro 4 race with Keegan Kincaid, Ross Hook, Scott Douglas, Drew's back in 6th, and CJ Greaves doesn't wait long in that acceleration zone to get on the throttle. Was Keegan Kincaid holding back possibly in the first half of the race? Because now he gets to start nose and tail.
I know Keegan and I know Pro 4. You give 100% the whole time. This is what I call 20 minutes of fury. Here we're running 14 laps. So you run as hard as you can because if you hesitate just a little bit, like we saw Johnny make that mistake, and now Scott Douglas making a mistake going into that lane, you lose so much. And there Johnny jumping, almost getting into the tire.
Johnny making another mistake there as well. And that was the one time I thought I saw a lot of side-to-side motion on CJ. I thought it was going to help Johnny, but Johnny made a mistake there. Let's go to Kate Osborne.
Watch CJ here coming in and out of these turns. He said his truck is finally turning. He said he made some changes to the truck. That rear geometry had really been dealing with issues all season long with it. But the good news is that truck can turn again.
Well, that sucks for everybody else because he's been killing everybody to this point, but it makes him a much more comfortable driver. As he comes in, you watch, he leans into it, a little bit of understeer, and he doesn't overdrive the back too much, rolls on the gas, and gets a good drive coming off because it's hard to have the patience not to just hammer the gas because you got all-wheel drive.
Let's go mechanical geek for just a moment, Ricky. We're talking about C.J. Greaves. Initially, in the first part of the year, they thought the issue with the turning was the front end. They had to cut it up and do something because there were motor changes and the like. So they had to change things up. But now that, you know, track bar adjustments, things, they're working on that back end still to get it to turn around.
Well, it helps rotate the front. Here we're watching Keegan Kincaid. It's awesome. Bass Pro Shops has come on with him. It's duck season. Keegan said, hey, it's duck season. I'm missing the opening season here racing, but this is where I want to be. So awesome to see Bass Pro Shops. But Keegan has had some issues where he's trying to keep everything. When you build a brand new truck, him and his father, Jeff Kincaid, built a brand new truck when they showed up in Chicago. They've been developing it all year long. The Greaves family, on the other hand, have been running it and been champions for a couple of years, so they're just fine-tuning it, where Keegan is having to make big changes. How high, they don't know how high to run it, how low to run it, all these different things, so they're learning every weekend.
And the simple thing like power steering, he's been fighting power steering issues the entire season in his new truck. That's something you can usually figure out in one race, Ricky, and he's been fighting with it every single race.
Right, but if you look at the RPMs and the demand that you got the front wheels and all-wheel drive and everything that's going on, and when you design a completely new machine, you have those teething pains. So it's great that he drives it as well as he does. But right now, the class of the field is this: CJ and Johnny Greaves.
Back at Crandon, Johnny pointed out that he had that truck really set up for the wet, sloppy conditions. As far as this track concerned, this is the sloppy portion of the track. It's sandy, it's deep. But Johnny told me, and a lot of drivers told me, that this is a very hard track everywhere but that one little sandy section. We're talking hard, not necessarily blue groove, but he said it's like a little gritty, slippery hard.
Well, I talked to Chris Carlson, and he had said, you know, he's the owner of ERX and Andrew Carlson's father, and he said that they brought in a bunch of clay. So that's where you see the turns. They are getting beat up because it's you know, it's knobby tires, and we're breaking that stuff down. But it's not as sandy as it is everywhere else. You can see how CJ is sliding, the cushion's coming up, but it's in that sandy split lane where it's old school sand motocross.
So how do you set up your truck knowing that in this portion it's going to suit this type of tire, in the rest it's going to be this type of tire? Which one do you go for?
You have to do the math and figure out exactly where you're going to gain and lose. If you have a tire that's too close for the blue groove, then what's going to happen is you're going to lose too much time there. So you got to go pretty much with the intermediate tire.
Scott Douglas back in 4th place, and I thought he'd finally got things figured out. He's been having motor issues. Went to the fuel injection this year and been fighting some gremlins, but it looks like he finally got things set at Crandon. But even this week, he said there was just one little blip that I'm having to work with. Kate Osborne?
He said that it's best that he's ever felt speed-wise in practice, and more comfortable here this weekend than he said he's ever felt in the rounds past. He said he's able to throw it into the corners, and he feels like he's being able to rotate that truck. However, as you said, he's still trying to do all he can to get back on the podium.
And I think that's centered from the engine difficulties, because as a racer, you want to have a motor that's competitive. When your mind focuses on that, it takes away from what actually makes you fast, and that's the setup for the truck altogether.
Well, you know, horsepower fixes a lot.
Right.
You know, when it handles down the straightaway, and then people think, oh, just as we see the white flag coming out, that CJ Greaves, and he's got about a 2.5 second, almost 3 second lead on his father, Johnny Greaves. But back to finishing my thought about horsepower. Horsepower just doesn't help you down the straightaway. It helps you hit these jumps, keep the nose high. It helps you rotate when you get out on the cushion. So horsepower fixes a lot of different things. And both of these two monster Toyotas are TRD. That's Toyota Racing Development. So those are factory motors. Those things are the best that money can buy. And to be honest with you, a lot of times money can't buy them because it's a factory program. So the Toyotas are definitely running well, but you also see the Keegan Kincaid running, which you're going to call more of a production motor. It's all a billet block and all the different things that he's got going on, but it's still, if the motor runs and it's got good condition, it gets you to the finish.
Fast is fast, and there's nobody faster than the Mutant Soda machine of CJ Greaves, taking his 7th win of the season in Pro 4-wheel drives. His father Johnny's going to finish in 2nd, so that means he gains 2 more points on old dad. Keegan Kincaid, 3rd in points, finishes 3rd here at ERX.
Trailblade Tires, the weapon of choice for wherever you want to go.
When it comes to guarding your engine, AMSOIL offers the next level performance enthusiasts demand. AMSOIL provides 75% more engine protection against horsepower loss and wear than required by a leading industry standard, extending the life of pistons and cams. Give the vehicle you love the above and beyond protection it deserves. AMSOIL, devoted to protection.
TORC, the Off-Road Championship, is brought to you by AMSOIL, devoted to protection, and by Cooper Tires. We make tires for people, not just cars.
Somebody bring out some water. Having to water this track even though it rained this morning, but you looked at the no dust to be found in that one, Ricky Johnson. I thought that was an excellent first race of the day. I think it's going to be dry come a little bit later on. Welcome back to ERX Motor Park. The Pro four-wheel drives are complete, and working his way through the pack is CJ Greaves, taking another victory and extending that championship points lead. He's down with Kate Osborne.
Extending the points lead, that's huge for your CJ, especially on a championship weekend. You know, CJ, I think the point for the conversation surrounding you always has to do with patience, and yet again, it paid off today. How did you see it pay off?
Oh, you know, the track keeps deteriorating. We really got some gnarly ruts in the back there up on the hill. There was a lot of spots that if you overdrove the truck coming in, it was real easy to get on the bike. It was real easy to upset the truck. So I really got to thank my dad and Brad. They're the ones who figured out the rear geometry. Devin and I weren't even paying attention to it. We thought the truck was pretty good, and they're like, well, this is what's different from truck to truck, and his seems to turn a lot better. So we're like, you know what, we can't get exactly there, but we can get close with this, and we changed it, and it made this truck way better. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I guess that shows what a real team is. It don't matter whether it's my truck or my dad's. They're not scared to share information, and that's what makes us what we do. So I really want to thank all my crew. They worked their butts off on these things. We lost two awesome people to short course, Joe Eppers and Peter Murphy, one of the photographers, and it's really sad. So this weekend, I think they're going to be on all of our minds, and this goes out to them for all weekend.
CJ Greaves, another win in Pro 4.
Thanks, Kate, and all smiles for the Monster Energy kid there. Mutant Soda. CJ Greaves, unofficially the winner, with Johnny and Keegan rounding out the top three. Douglas, Hook, and Al Drews rounding out the field of six. But here in Pro 4-wheel drive, we've got a tight championship points battle, and CJ separated himself from Johnny by 2. But he said it's teamwork and teammates really helping each other, Kate.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You guys are teammates. Your father-son combos. You guys are also both in the points championship race right now. For you, how do you separate that as a driver, as a dad, as a team owner?
I don't. You know, I'm a dad and a team owner back there, and when I'm out here, I'm a driver just trying to beat him, you know, and this is his kind of track. He's so methodical, figuring stuff out like this and knowing when to slow down and put it in the right place. And you know, my pace probably picked up once he passed me and I could follow him, but he roosted me so damn bad a couple times when I'm on the outside lane and he's on the inside. There's so much roost coming back. I was like, I gotta follow him because I can't take the roost anymore. But all in all, it was a good day. You know, we're still within the hunt, and you know, this Monster Energy, Toyota, Maxxis tires, Fox shocks, Method wheels, everybody. We're not down yet. We got 2 more rounds to go, and anything can happen.
No doubt about it. That's racing. Anything can happen. Johnny Greaves still in the hunt with 2 rounds left.
And the differential between first and second at both of those stops is 2 points each, and at 4 points behind, if Johnny finishes in front of CJ 2 times, it'll be a tie. But CJ would break that tie with more race wins. But Keegan Kincaid is still in it. It's just a 9-place differential. He needs some help, but the number 2 still has a shot at the title, Kate Osborne, and I know he's not giving up.
He is not giving up, but something that did give up was his power steering. What happened?
Yeah, you know, we've been struggling with this all year and trying to get it, and we could get it good, and then it goes away. And I knew right at the beginning of the race it was going to be a struggle the whole race, and it just progressively gets worse. But I couldn't be happier to put this Bass Pro Shops truck up on the box at least. You know, we salvaged that, and that was a tiring one. And True Timber coming on board this weekend, and we'll put our guys to work tonight, and hopefully come back and we'll be able to steer tomorrow and be on the top spot. But I can't thank those guys enough. Everybody that's been behind me, Vision Wheel, Cooper Tire, AMSOIL, you know, Bass Pro Shops comes on this weekend, and True Timber is a huge help to our team and to the fans. So I look forward to battling with these guys again tomorrow.
You can tell King Cade is very tired with that one, but of course, another round ahead of him for that championship.
Well, it's a good thing that you have such a big, strong kid in there to hang on to it. But see, look for him tomorrow, and it's awesome to see Bass Pro Shops coming on with him.
Well, in this week's Torque Tech, you know, in Torque, it's not just about the horsepower, it's about laying it to the ground. Check this out.
In Torque, we race 900 horsepower trucks, and you'd think everything from the transmission to the engine is the most crucial, but honestly it comes down to the tires, because if you can't put it to the ground, then all that's worthless. And Cooper Tire helps us do that every day, whether we're on the racetrack, whether we're off the racetrack.
Now in the Pro 2 class we run a DOT tire, so it's made to hit the highway, maybe do a little bit of climbing through the hills. Here we have to push it to its absolute max. So when we groove the tires, what we're doing is we're adding as much forward bite and braking traction as we possibly can. They help us with the compound of the tire and letting us know what the tire can take so that I don't take too much away from the tire when we do groove them.
We get these tires from Cooper, and there's a couple of different compounds, and they're handmade just for torque racing. We cut them different ways, whatever the track needs. It's what gives us the bite and makes the truck go. You've got the horsepower, you got to have the right bite, you have to have the right groove. But if we don't hook it up on the track, it's all worthless.
I'm hands-on with my program, and Cooper Tire's been right there next to me. They're hands-on with their equipment and their tires, and helps us excel to the next level.
But at the end of the day, when you set that thing on the ground, the last piece of that puzzle is your tires, and that's what's going to help push you to success.
Working with Cooper engineers, we learn here they can put on the street as well. And the relationship they have with Torque and the commitment they have to short course racing is second to none.
Yeah, it's a lot more than just the horsepower. You have to have some way of laying it to the ground. And we're going to see Pro 2-wheel drive, some spec tires, some DOT tires coming up next at Torque, the Off-Road Championship presented by AMSOIL. It's Elk River, Minnesota, and ERX Motor Park.
Trailblade Tires, the weapon of choice for wherever you want to go.
Cooper tires on the ground go round and round, round and round, round and round. Tires on the car are warranty. And what you need, the tires on the car help keep you safe. They grip the road when you hit the brakes.
Your tires matter. So count on Cooper, an American company since 1914.
The tires on the ground go round and round.
Alrighty, an awesome day here at Elk River. As you can see, the sun is shining. Earlier this morning we had a lot of rain, but it's actually worked to our advantage. It was a little bit sloppy on some of the practice and qualifying, some of the earlier sportsman races, but right now the track has been shaping up better and better. Obviously they haven't had to water it at all, but you can see how deep. So as much as they prep it and as deep as these trucks dig, it just keeps getting better and better. So I think for the racers, it's perfect because the roost is heavy, but it's not. There's not a lot of water that's getting in between the tear-offs and stuff like that. So it makes it a great racetrack as far as starting to get weathered and passing and different lines.
You know, they say Mother Nature is our water truck, and doing a great job this morning. Watering facility, toasty day out here. And what do you do as a driver whenever it gets hot like there and you're in a cockpit? Are you doing things, wrapping towels around your neck, or is really the race? It's not like a motocross race where you'd be 30 minutes out there. But
well, yeah, and with that, you want to stay comfortable. You know, I used to think back in the day, well, you got to acclimate yourself, and I used to try to sleep with the air conditioning off and stuff like that.
Really?
And studies have it now that you're better off to keep yourself in because you retain the hydration and that. But it was more of a mental game for me. I thought if I could weather, you know, I always heard about Mark Barnett training out in the Illinois heat and all the different stuff, burning 5 gallons of gas. But when it comes to the TORC series, you're hot in the vehicle. I mean, sometimes it's up around 120 degrees inside the cab, so you can, as we talked about, you burnt your shoes and stuff like that. But so the driver gets hot, but it's such a short period of time that you really don't have time to figure it out. Afterward, you realize, holy cow, my suit is completely soaked, and I'm out of breath, and my muscles are tired. And especially like Keegan Kincaid with no power steering, he has to hold on to that thing. That's got to wear him out. But he's a young, strapping
young buck, that Keegan Kincaid
lad.
is.
And so he'll be fine. But the whole idea is to just make sure that you're hydrated because it's a 3-day, you know, there's 3 separate rounds. And in the 3 separate rounds, what do we have?
Looky. We got the Vision Wheel Bad Mofo Award. And all right, after the Pro 4-Wheel Drive, who would you say would probably be the recipient of that? It would probably be C.J. Greaves, right? A pretty dominating performance. He would probably be my leader right now in the clubhouse. We won't see him again.
Yeah, but then you have Keegan that
fighting it. Yeah, literally fighting,
like surviving.
And unfortunately, we've had to tell you this story week after week after week after week after week with Keegan. When you lose power steering, it's not like a 1955 car where it didn't have power steering and you're just literally forcing the wheels on real heavy.
For all of you that have driven a 1955 car.
Yeah, but it didn't have power steering back then. You know, in the later 50s, they started getting it. But when you lose power steering on a power steering car, you get it to turn, and then it stops. And then it turns, and it stops. If I'm just trying to turn left, it jerks. And it is an absolute battle because if it stops when you need it to, you're going the wrong direction. I hate to tell you.
Well, and it's got a ram, and so it's got a, you know, the way the steering works, it doesn't have a steering box, so it doesn't work. It has a ram, you know, the ring.
You're going technical on me.
So it has to work, and when that gets cut, you know, I've had a situation where it's slowed down, or there's been hard kinks in the line or something like that, that it fades on you. Or what happens is you can turn one way good, and then the other way it locks up. So when you go to correct the steering,
it's not there.
And then you can't. The next thing you know, it adds to another mistake. But right now, I got to give it to C.J. Greaves for one, just so gracefully working his way to the front, and the maturity. I mean, just the maturity that he's showing behind the wheel. Or you got to look at Johnny Greaves that's giving his kid the bullets to kill him.
Yeah.
You know, as a team owner and driver, he's an open book, obviously, because if CJ wins, he wins kind of.
Yeah.
You know, but it's.
It would be so easy for him to hold out that information, though,
yeah,
and take the championship himself. He just wants to make sure his camp has that championship. But we've talked about the Young Guns before, and you can tune in every Wednesday night starting this past week. And at 7 p.m. Central Time, for those of you living in the central part of the U.S., 7 p.m. Central, they've already had episode 1 on September 20th. But, again, on Wednesday nights, you can go to youtube.com/TORC, T-O-R-C, and you can follow the Young Gun series. And, again, it's really cool following some of the youth of the sport of short course off-road racing. Well, just take another look and just see what it's all about.
A new generation is rising, an inevitable force primed to lay claim to what is theirs. This is Young Guns.
This is the Young Guns. And how about a young lady gun? Kate Osborne. Kate, we're always looking for questions from the fans, but we hear you have one.
I do. First, thank you for calling me a young gun. That's quite the compliment here today, first and foremost. But second, yes, we are looking for questions. If you have a question for Ricky, Robbie, myself, or of course the drivers, I'm trackside with them, make sure you send them in to us using hashtag #AskTorque. We did get a question from Andrew Murphy. He wants to know, Ricky and Robbie, what's the strategy in cutting/grooving tires for a track like ERX?
Well, you have to make sure that you go deep enough. And some of the tracks like Crandon or Bark River, where we have it's a much more high speed and a much more wheel spin of a track, that you have to go with narrower cuts, and you want to have a lot more rubber on the ground. Here at ERX, you want to go more with a square, a deeper cut, and you want to make sure that when you get out in the cushion, it doesn't just hydroplane up on top of you. So here at ERX, a little bit deeper, a little bit wider.
All right, but I want to add to that, with guys talking about how this is a hard packed track with some sand in there. The more deeper and the more wider means less contact patch. And as we get in later in this and that stuff gets blown off, you could kind of be going the wrong way, right? I agree with you on the start, but as it gets harder, it could be a problem.
Well, and the reason I say no and you want the wider grip is because you're not in a transition for very long. We got a slide going through turn 1, a little bit of a slide through Talladega, rotation, and the other hairpins. But unlike Bark River and Crandon, you're sliding for a long time when you're really working that edge, and that's where the compound becomes much more important.
Gotcha.
Here, the groove is going to help you,
Gotcha.
in my opinion.
Gotcha. All right, Ricky, well, I thought we were going to go to break, but we're not going
to.
to.
Nope, we're not going to break.
We're not going to. You know why? And I might have said that the Pro 2s were coming up in a little bit, because I was thinking about that. Pro 2s now use DOT tires. Pro Lights have used DOT tires, from the get-go. And we're about to see Pro Lights come up here in just a moment. I'm seeing Kyle Kleiman out there. Let's find out where he's going to start out. Kyle Kleiman and Pro Lights will start back a ways because he's a points leader. He's going to start in 6th place. It'll be Sean Morris on pole this time. So be curious to see how he's able to work his way through the pack as a little bit of a breeze is blowing, except for in here where our studio is. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. I'm not, not related to Mr. Rogers, but it is a beautiful day in the neighborhood and a beautiful track as well. That amphitheater will be filling in tomorrow. Today's a work day, a rescheduled race. This is stop number 4, even though we've already completed stop 11. Round 11's already been completed, but yet this is round 4. Go figure. Making smooth like butter. Making short course rough again. That's your next hat, I think. That's what we need to do.
That's definitely what we got going here, and you can see that they got it packed in. So the first couple laps, guys can run high, run low, and they don't have to worry about fighting for that one line. But as it gets raced on, that primary line is going to be key, and you're going to have to fight for it. As you can see, coming out of this Cooper hairpin, we have the split lane, and it's showing 3 lanes there, but the one is for a safety truck if we got a problem. We did see, we've seen other trucks get stuck on that if there's a problem and stuff like that, but that gives them an opportunity to get out on the track, recover that vehicle, and keep the races going. As we're watching the Pro Lights come onto the track, a lot of anticipation as we look at the guys.
Look at Zach Martin, our UTV guys in the field once again.
Yep. So we got everybody's wanting to get into this because they're so much fun. I mean, imagine a truck that has, these trucks when it comes to horsepower and everything, it's a slightly different program, not as big as the other ones, but these are still running 350 cubic inch with about a 450 horsepower. So it's like a small block, Ford or Chevy or Dodge, and what they do is they're an iron block and they try to keep them the same, but they're jumpable. You get to slide. So everybody that I've talked to, from Kenny Wallace got to go for a lap, Jimmy Johnson who came from this, Kyle Busch who got to come and race, Ricky Carmichael, James Stewart, everybody that's ever had a chance to sit behind the wheel of a TORC vehicle has fallen in love.
I'd like to drive one myself as we see the Toyota Escondido Pace vehicle leading the way, getting ready to go here for our second of the big boy truck races.
Outside on roll 1, from right here in Elk River, Minnesota, driving the Carlson Motorsports
Well, the biggest of the bad boys are complete, the Pro 4-wheel drives. Now let's back down the horsepower. Let's throw on some DOT tires, lesser suspension, and put it in the driver's hands and see what they can do with it here in TORC. The Pro Light class, Ricky, smaller engines, less horsepower, this is a driver's race. You have to be, on the money to get these things to go fast.
Yeah, but it's a 350 cubic inch motor with about 450 horsepower, 14 inches of wheel travel, 3,000 pounds with a DOT tire. But the thing that you looked at Johnny Greaves, you looked at Keegan Kincaid, CJ Greaves, they all came from here. These are narrow vehicles, they're hard to hang on to, and they're a handful.
Sean Morris lives here. He's right there in the 27. He's won here before. Look for him. He'll be on pole on the right side as they head into that first turn next to Cam Reimers, who's been fast here this weekend in practice. Andrew Carlson lives here, and he was the first-time winner in ERX. Chad Rayford, another guy to look for. Cody Kleiman, Kyle Kleiman, the series points leader, back there on that third row. The 42 is the one to look for in the bright yellow. His brother just in front of him. But Chad Rayford gets a little bit better drive. Andrew Carlson. Oh, Rayford gets into Carlson. Come in there hot, but that actually helped. Carlson bumped him up there by Cam Reimers.
Yeah, sometimes it's accidentally perfect, and that scooted Andrew right up into second, but then here comes Chad Rayford back down the inside, so we could see a little bit more contact coming into Talladega.
And getting a little bit wide, or pushed a little wide there is Andrew Carlson, but yeah, that's a case where Cam Reimers is probably upset with Andrew Carlson, but Carlson can go back and look at the tape and go, I had nothing to do with it, bro. That was Chad bumping me from behind. And now you're seeing a good job. The local boy diving underneath, trying to make that pass, holding up the Kinder Tire truck of Rayford.
Taking another look, and he sends it off of that tabletop and completes the pass. But Chad Rayford looking to the inside. Can he get a wheel back under him? And no, Andrew Carlson works his way into second place.
And not that the cushion is really developed, but he had such a good line there. He meaning Andrew Carlson, who's not only racing in Pro Lights, but Pro 2-wheel drives as well. Everybody chasing the Kinder Tire 27 of Sean Morris, and he's been fast here. I can still remember coming to that checkered flag and how happy he was to win here at ERX a year ago.
Keep your eye on the Kleiman brothers, and here we see, looking at Cody coming to the inside, right behind him, Kyle, his brother, looking to the inside. Sean Morris going really wide and losing 3 spots. So Sean Morris first to fourth.
Maybe even 4 spots as you see Kyle crossing up back there. I don't know what happened. We've not seen anybody, and maybe he lost his brakes because he definitely wasn't using them right there.
Definitely coming in a little hot. I've been in that situation where you make a big mistake, you lose a bunch of ground, and then you get a little bit upset, but Sean Morris definitely overshooting that entry. Now he's looking on the inside.
As you look at Kyle Kleiman moving up, you see banging. Cody Kleiman gets it. Kyle's going to get the drive on the outside. If these two guys can bang and bump next to each other, it's only going to help the yellow truck. And look at him dive to the inside.
Kyle with a very clean line on the inside is able to complete that pass to get past Chad Rayford, and now right behind his brother, Cody Kleiman.
Chad Rayford back there watching it all go down, but this is a class where Andrew Carlson really hasn't been so in tune with his truck. We're seeing him out in front right now, pretty darn in tune, but there's a guy who's just been kicking tail, taking names, 7 wins out of 10 stops. I mean, he is the dominant Pro Light driver, Kyle Kleiman.
But the driver out front, Andrew Carlson, every time we've seen him get open air, he's always a dominant driver. So typically when we saw him win at Redbud, also Pro 2 and Pro Light back to back, he was able to run away from everybody. But the Kleiman brothers are definitely keeping him honest.
To me, it looks like Kyle's the fastest on the track, but Cody closing in to Andrew Carlson right now, and we will have a competition caution after the 7th lap. So 7 laps of 14, we bring him back, and on his lid, a place that he was familiar with it the last time at ERX, and back on all 4s. Can he fire it up and not lose all the spots? Well, we got a little fire, but that's just coming out of the exhaust, and he picks back up.
How the heck do you do that?
We saw this in it because the camber of that turn right there.
So take a look. I know how he did it, but
I know.
I've never been this lucky. So you watch Andrew Carlson, the white truck on the inside, comes in, rotates pretty early, and then as he comes in, goes to correct, he gets up, he turns into it, not quite fast enough. He goes all the way, almost on his lip, and then he comes back, but then bounces down, and then he restarts it and takes off. So great job by Andrew Carlson, but you see he's got his work cut out for him.
Yeah, and is the truck the same? I don't know that it really would. I don't think it would have upset the truck really as far as changing any of the front end or whatnot, but he is about to lose a fiberglass panel here. Can he work his way back up? And I said it's a familiar territory because in the last turn of this track, he went over twice at the last time we were here at ERX.
Well, and we talked about that. You know, this is literally his backyard. I mean, this is the place where he lives and stuff. But still, as you can see, the track has always changed. They made changes through every day, so it doesn't matter if it's your backyard or not. You still have to figure out the track. And right now, Cody Kleiman is doing a great job.
Let's go to Kate Osborne.
Cody Kleiman went for a more aggressive tire cut for the sand that was laid down here. He said tires are going to play a huge part in the race, especially with 3 different kinds of soil types. On the other end of the spectrum there, Kyle Kleiman, who's pushing him right now in second, said he thinks throttle control will play a big part of this clay mix with the sand, as it gives you 2 different kinds of conditions all wrapped in one track.
And Ricky, I asked you before off camera which was better, because without question early on and in the deep stuff, that cut will help. But as this hard-packed track really starts laying it down, it might be more Kyle and the throttle control that would be a factor.
Well, I think what Kyle is going for is what worked yesterday. Yesterday, Cody figured it out. I watched them and I talked to their father about it, and Cody figured it out a little bit quicker and was a little smoother on the gas, but Kyle picked it up later. But the track, you can see, is getting beat up because the water is so deep. So I think the more aggressive, it will help you when you make a mistake, but Kyle is not making many mistakes.
So the Cody Kleiman, the 48, the driver with 1 victory, is ahead of his brother, who's looking like he's going to win this championship if he stays, keeps doing what he's been doing with 7 wins. Which one's going to be faster today? Because it wasn't too long ago that we saw Cody actually give it to his brother. That was back at Park River. He was the fastest, but Kyle wasn't taking any chances. I think we're going to see more chances, especially with the split section. Kyle can take a chance and go the opposite way, even though it's not as fast possibly.
Well, he knows that he has no pressure from behind, but so what you got to do is you got to try to work your way around, try different things, and see that he can make up a little ground here and there, and right to the inside, that's going to be the key.
Not a good move. We've seen this before as we go to take the competition caution. That outside to inside move, if you can land downside, is the hot ticket in whatever class you're racing. And right now, that hot ticket is in the back pocket of Kyle Kleiman. Cody Kleiman in second, Sean Morris in third, but we'll re-rack and restack for the second half of this Pro Light race.
When it comes to protecting your engine, AMSOIL offers the next level performance truck owners demand. AMSOIL provides 75% more engine protection against horsepower loss and wear than required by a leading industry standard, extending the life of pistons and cams. Give the vehicle you love the above and beyond fortification it deserves. AMSOIL, devoted to protection.
Cooper tires on the ground go round and round, round and round, round and round. Tires on the car are warranty. And what you need, the tires on the car help keep you safe. They grip the road when you hit the brakes.
Your tires matter. So count on Cooper, an American company since 1914.
The tires on the ground go round and round.
What do we have here? The 21 machine of Cam Reimers, the Liquid Rich entry. They're trying to spray water on their Kate Osborne's. What happened?
The second in points right now, Cam Reimers is saying that it's very hot in here. His temps are hot, and as you can see, this is the second time he's been in the hot pit, but unfortunately for him, like I said, he is second in points right now.
Thanks, Kate. He's putting the hot in hot pit, but these trucks, it's not like a typical truck where you have a fan blowing on it. These are electric fans, so it's not pulley driven necessarily. It's all electronic driven. Do you think he's just packed dirt in that radiator because it is so heavy, or do you think he had a fan? Fans.
It could be one of a bunch of different things. So who knows? But they were spraying out they were spraying the radiators with the fire extinguisher.
So as Cam Reimers tries to get back in the mix, we'll see if he can do it because he's having an overheating issue. You also don't want to kill that engine, but he's second in points to that guy in front. Kyle Kleiman leads Cody Kleiman, Sean Morris, Chad Rayford, Andrew Carlson in 5th, even with that tip over and back. And there goes Carlson banging into Chad Rayford, an aggressive inside move. I mean, I know it's your backyard and all, but that was pretty aggressive start.
Coming in hot, and now Chad Rayford's doing the exact same thing. I'm going to come in hot on you now.
He didn't touch him, though, that time. He had every chance to go wider and didn't touch him, so well, Andrew, I'm surprised.
Well, no, I think Andrew saw it coming and checked up, which was a smart move. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes coming over into that turn 1, as Scott Douglas said in the track, no, it's you can't see it, and you're jumped down into the hill. But so a little bump, a little foul, they worked it all out. Now let's go racing.
Look how far they're jumping down that hill as Sean Morris, who was the leader early on in this race, he got the start. He started on that front row, but something really bad happened to him in that rhythm section leading up to the finish line. But it looks like he has things sorted out now, trying to make the downside of that tabletop. I think the Leprechaun's driving a little angry right now. I think he wants to be up there. He feels like he should be in first or second.
Well, when we go back and we watch Sean, you'll see the car bounces. It looks like something like he's lost gas pressure in the back. And so what happens is he's going through, it looks like it's bottoming out and rebounding a lot more than it should be.
Kate, you have more on Sean?
Yeah, he said actually earlier today that the pressure is alleviated. So he might be not an angry Leprechaun, but he definitely knows he has a job to get done. More importantly, he says he really likes the challenges of this track. He likes that it's always changing. And as he said, it's one that you have to adapt and overcome. And then he said, says the Marine.
Yeah, and when he's talking about pressure, he's not talking about the suspension pressure you're talking about. He's talking about that mental pressure. And Sean can beat himself up a time or two.
Well, every driver can. When you make a mistake, you're in there in your own little private torture chamber, just going, that was all me. It's 100% my fault. So right now, Sean is doing a great job, running very clean. We see a great race back here with Chad Rayford and Andrew Carlson. So these guys have traded some paint, and that's what we want to see. We don't want to see dirty driving, taking guys out, but this kind of stuff, this is good racing, man. They're knocking fenders off each other. They're hanging onto each other, pushing back and forth. Let's go racing.
That was an excellent move by Carlson, but I think now you still have Rayford. It just didn't feel like he should be in that spot, but he came in hard. My thought is, and I wasn't a good amateur, a stock car type racer, modified, but whenever you give me an inside, I'm going to take it. Expect me to be there. If you don't want me there, don't give it to me.
Chad Rayford shooting straight at the inside. So
here it goes.
Here we go again. I'm going to outbreak you, then Andrew Carlson.
Oh, love it.
I'm going to get you on the exit.
I love it. That's called tag, Ricky. You've done it in motorcycles. You don't have to be the fastest. I'm just going to... It's playing with your buddy, but they're not buddies right now.
Well, and right now it's a real racy track. It's a real racy track, so these guys can run in, run out. They're all over the place, doing a great job. So this is awesome for us to watch this kind of racing going on.
Still, we see Kyle Kleiman. Look at that advantage, way out in front, hitting into that split section. Carlson now getting into the Kenda tire entry of Sean Morris just a bit. What's going to happen here as they exit, Ricky?
Here comes Chad Rayford as he comes up. We see a yellow flag going into the rhythm section, so we can't see what's going on quite yet, but we see a little bit of...
Two teammates having to give each other.
Going back at it, and now we see a yellow flag.
And now it's a full course caution, though, in that case. So, yeah, something happened over in this Cam Reimers. Is it a engine issue as he rolls backwards? And he's not under power right now, but that's going to bring out a full course caution. Kate, you got something? Yeah, we see you. Oh, she didn't have her microphone. Kate, what you got? No, she don't have nothing.
Kate doesn't have one.
Dude, you want to talk about hearing it from the horse's mouth. What's wrong, Cam Reimers?
But one of the things that I want to point out is that we did not see Andrew Carlson up in that top 4, and so if something happened to him in that whoop section.
He was in there. He was in there. He was in that mix. He was one of those guys.
I saw him, but when they came across, I didn't see him after that.
I think he may have backed it down when and or also it could have been a late call, because when we saw that section, they might have already had the the full course out. We just didn't know it until they reached that finish line.
Well, and I also think that the spotters told him full course caution, he let off, and everyone kept going. So there you can see Andrew Carlson on the outside behind Cody Kleiman, Kyle Kleiman, and right behind him is Sean Moore. So they'll get back in line after they go through the split lane.
It's not what Kyle wanted to see by any means, is it?
No,
I mean, especially
the checker flag is what he wanted to see.
The rabid trucks that are behind him, what they've been doing to each other, he really doesn't know what's happening behind him.
But he doesn't care. What I like about Kyle is he's just a driver. He doesn't care. He just drives. So unlike the Greaves, the Klymans do seem to race a little bit cleaner with each other.
So as Cam Reimers exits the field tightens up and we get ready to go one more time with only a couple of laps remaining. 14-lap race and a great jump by Kyle Kleiman, who really is oblivious to what's going on behind him. And here comes that same move. Getting to the inside is Andrew Carlson.
Andrew has showed a lot of confidence coming in on the inside in turn 1, but this puts Sean Morris right on the inside coming into turn 2, and Sean is more than likely going to take her up a little bit deep.
Premier Material Concepts 151 of Andrew Carlson now stuck on that outside. Both of those drivers, he's going to be in 4th. He is just slamming into those berms. Morris holding on, but Cody trying to hold on for 2nd.
And Andrew losing another spot to Chad Rayford as well. So
the aggressiveness is really costing him, it seems.
Well, but a lot of times it could be a blessing or a curse. That's so narrow when things get messed up. Sometimes there's nowhere to go, and that's what happened to Andrew Carlson.
As you see, Sean Morris there in 3rd trying to get into 2nd. Let's find out what happened to Cam Reimers, Kate.
The number 121 truck of Cam Reimers, unfortunately, been in the hot pit 3 times today. What was the issue?
Yeah, just had an issue with the fans. So much sand in it, I don't know if it clogged them up. I was just tripping breakers. My fault for not noticing early enough. I just thought I had sand packed in the radiator, but fans weren't running at all. And I hope we didn't hurt it. I mean, I was managing temps, and I didn't think I did. It won't refire right now, so a little nervous. But we'll be back tomorrow.
All right,
Disappointing day.
Kate, we've got one on our lid. Looks like Chad Rayford this time, so it's not only bad luck for Cam Reimers, it's bad luck for Chad Rayford, and it looked very much like what we saw out of Andrew Carlson. He does it all on his lonesome.
He comes in, shoots it, sets up a little bit wide too early, gets on the gas. As it starts to get wide, he's catching it, and all of a sudden he hooks. That puts him right in front of Cody Kleiman, and then Andrew Carlson makes out good, gets by 2 drivers at the same time. But what's great about being live online is that I just got a text from Jared Johnson pointing out that the 48 truck has a left front flat, and that's what's hindering Cody Kleiman at this time.
So those of you watching online, and Jarrett, thank you for watching that. I'm sure he's probably got that 70, 80-inch TV right in front of him if he's all sprawled out on his lazy boy.
And it's probably air conditioned where he's at too.
Yeah.
So Jared, I hope you're enjoying the race.
Yeah.
And I appreciate your producer credit.
Enjoying things in North Carolina. And we wish he was out here racing with us today. So.
Exactly, you and Jesse River. And I think it's we miss you guys back here, and it's not the same without Joe.
Yep. And they're spinning that things around. So that corner has caught 2 of our top drivers already today, and both times just literally hooking. And how often do you see hooking like that or catching with the side on a cambered turn? I mean, you don't see it that often because the reason that Andrew Carlson rolled back over is because the slant of that curve. It generally doesn't happen on that one.
Well, it's what's happening is, if you notice, it's happening partly around the corner. It's not coming in because you can come in and you throw it as you're slowing down. The bank holds you, but as you accelerate, the back end starts to come around. It hooks and then takes you over. So that's very dangerous, and that's why if you guys are ever running when it comes to a recovery
straps.
hook, always put the hook meaning up. The point is up, so if it comes off, it shoots down. So that can be very dangerous with that strap. You can see it's a big metal hook, but they do all that for speed. But right now they're having some troubles with it.
And unfortunately for Chad Rayford, and I guess the big benefactor of that is Andrew Crow. Oh, actually, he won't gain a position on Cody if he were able to get by, because they'll go back to that last completed lap. But Rayford will have to go to the back of the field with Cam Reimer's out of it as well, Matt Sorek.
But we saw Chad with his helmet off, and pretty much he's probably thinking, I'm done. Our driver's not going to get out and take his helmet off. He thinks he's going to be able to get back in.
Well, when it sits upside down like that too, I mean, you heard Cam talk about he hopes he doesn't hurt the engine. That first time you fire it up, I mean, you could have that little puff of death, the white smoke, because oil goes into places it's not supposed to.
Yep. Well, there we can see the left front of the second truck, the black Ponzi truck of Cody Kleiman. Just got another text from Chris Pantani.
Why didn't he change right now in the hot pit and go to the back?
I honestly don't know why, but because we're looking at how many laps. It's 11 to 14. Maybe he feels because there's really only one right-hand corner that he can drive it and hang on to that
first
position.
turn.
But he's going to be a sitting duck when it comes to Sean Morris and Andrew Carlson. So watching these guys come back,
and that'll be the first turn is the right-hander, the only true right-hander like that.
Right, and with that wall and everything there, you're going to have to set up really early, have to brake early.
In that particular case, though, you generally want to hug that inside line and make everybody go the long way around. Kate Osborne?
Yeah, and talking with Cody Kleiman's team over here, I asked, why didn't he come in right now? There's obviously ample time. And he said, unfortunately, fortunately for him right now, it's not bothering him. But unfortunately for him, it's also not going to give him any kind of advantage here at the end.
I think you always have an advantage with 4 inflated tires over 3. but could he pass 3 more guys? Because you got to think he's going to lose 1 or 2 spots, you would think, and with 3 laps left.
So in my grand wisdom is his plan to hold the field back to give Kyle an advantage.
Let's go to Kate again.
You know, just to clarify, I was saying that yes, there's no advantage to having 3 tires inflated and 1 deflated. Deflated tire, but I will say, obviously, one of the things that we've seen with Cody is confidence, and it's interesting to see that he's making these decisions. He is trusting that truck, and that's a different kind of driver than probably what we would have imagined seeing him early on in the season.
Absolutely. I mean, he's been driving very well. He's beat his brother. He's right there in the mix. He's one of the few, one of only a couple guys, 3 guys that have won this year. But in my mind, I'm thinking that I don't know if strategy is coming into it, because with just a couple laps to go, this can give Kyle a chance to get away and keep out of striking distance of Andrew Carlson and Sean Morris, as well as Matt Sorek as well. So are they team playing? Only they know.
Want to point out also Zach Martin, who's a newbie. We got to see him at Crandon, but a newbie in the truck category. This is a UTV driver. He's back there in 5th place on the lead lap, and he's getting a lot of experience out there and seeing all this mayhem happen around him. He's trying to get up there inside that top 5, so look for Martin. So with Rayford now out of the picture, we still see the field closing in on Kyle Kleiman, Cody Kleiman in 2nd, Sean Morris in 3rd. 3 laps to go here, and you still have Andrew Carlson back there in 4th at his home track that still is looking to win. Aggressive move by Sean Morris. No T-bone, but a nice side-by-side pass on Cody with that down left front tire.
Very, very strong move by Sean Morris, but great job by Cody Kleiman, able to hold on to it. Here, that's not going to affect him so much because he's floating that inside tire. We see Andrew Carlson trying to work his way back in the mix, but it is Kyle Kleiman who's pulled about a 4-car length lead.
Does Sean Morris have enough left in that truck? It looks like he's got enough to pull away from Kleiman, who takes the shot, thinks he can be fast enough out there with 3 inflated tires instead of 4. But you said there's only 1 right-hander that's really a factor on this track. So if you can fight it off on that 1 right-hander, and then you can be pretty fast on all the other lefts.
Exactly. So when you see that the wheel has not come off the bead, and these have, you see that little silver ring on there, it's called a bead lock. So where the tire sits against the rim, you bolt that on. I think it has 60-some bolts around the wheel to make sure if you get a flat, it holds it on your wheel. Unlike your passenger car, where it'll just knock the bead off.
And you see the back left, a lot of fiberglass making contact into that left rear tire as well. But unlike metal or sheet metal, it's probably not going to cut. That fiberglass will just rip off.
Yeah, and Cody's doing an awesome job with that flat left front tire.
Easy
Trying to
for you
say
to
that, trying to say that a couple times. And here we see Andrew Carlson trying to work his way back into it. But as you said, Robbie, it's almost all left-hand corner, so that tire is off the ground most of the time as we see the white flag.
White flag is out. One more to go for Kyle Kleiman, trying to make it 8 wins on the season. And Cody's doing a great job holding on in third. His brother, Sean Morris, still in the picture back there in the Kenda 27. He's still got a shot at it, but you know, the Ponzi 42, we expect him to move into the Pro 2 ranks next year, and I think he needs to. I mean, he has learned a ton in 2017.
Well, we've seen that he's got the talent. We've seen that he's got the family dedication. We just need to find the sponsors, and hopefully Ponzi's ready to step up because they've done a great job with that 2-truck Pro Light team.
Oh, look at this, look at this.
To see him in the Pro 2.
Look at that. It's Carlson. He knows he's got a wounded Kleiman. Carlson gets in there, and you know, because he was so sideways, that might kill his shot at third place, but there's no stopping the 42 Ponzi entry. Kyle Kleiman is going to do it again. One more turn to go, and he does take the victory here at ERX Motor Park. His 8th win on the season. Second's going to go to Sean Morris in a hard-fought battle. Third goes to the other Ponzi entry in Cody Kleiman, and we'll hear from him when we return to Elk River, Minnesota for TORC, the Off-Road Championship presented by AMSOIL.
Turo Trailblade Tires, the weapon of choice for wherever you want to go.
When it comes to guarding your engine, AMSOIL offers the next level performance enthusiasts demand. AMSOIL provides 75% more engine protection against horsepower loss and wear than required by a leading industry standard, extending the life of pistons and cams. Give the vehicle you love the above and beyond protection it deserves. AMSOIL, devoted to protection.
TORC, the Off-Road Championship, is brought to you by VP Racing Fuels, the official fuel of TORC, and by Turo, the tire with the style you want and the performance you need.
Everybody preparing to, everybody in the top 3 ready to get their trophies here, and getting ready here in just a moment with the water trucks as well for more track preparation.
How many wins Kyle's had? I don't have any.
Kyle Kleiman does it once again in the Ponzi number 42, and he worked his way up into the front and never looked back. Right now the winner's caught up with Kate Osborne.
Another win for Kyle Kleiman. Kyle, how much did your confidence play in this win, especially there on that final restart?
Yeah, you know, we kept having restart after restart, and it got so hot in there, sweat's getting in my eyes. I got roosted so bad in the beginning of the race, so I was kind of fighting dirt in my helmet and this and that. And, you know, I knew when we were out front, we run pretty confident sometimes, so you know, everything held together. I got a great crew standing behind me, Ponzi, Maxxis, Pro Power, J&H, Ultra Wheels, you know, Fox, Dynamic Torque Converters, everybody else that helps me out. This is a true solid program, and I can't thank everybody enough.
Definitely worked hard for that win. Kyle Kleiman, your points leader here in Pro Light.
Boy, not only is he doing it, he's doing it oh so well. His 8th win of the season, and Sean Morris. Again, he had to fight for that second place, but the man who sits 5th in points has had his struggles this year, a couple of 7s, but you know, 3 out of the past 4 races, he's finished on top, you know, in the top 3 positions, and he finished his 2nd here at ERX. Let's go down to Sean Morris, who's with Kate Osborne.
You know, we talk a little bit about Angry Leper Sean, and I think right now, Sean Morris, although you're in 2nd, you're working through some emotions right now. What are you upset about?
Yeah, you know, I came out in 1st. I was on the 2nd lap. and all I see is a guy come in and drive straight into my door. Then I know he did it to my other teammate, took him out, and no black flags. Bad misrepresentation for this track. I'm really sorry about that, guys, but that's the way I see it. So, you know what? I'm proud to be here. I'm proud that Kinda Tire is here to support me. These are the tires, the ones to beat. You know, you can get these off any shelf in the country. It's a second to none tire to anything. So I'm proud of that. And thanks for all my sponsors that are out there. You know, I really appreciate it.
Sean Morris, another podium finish for him in Pro Light.
As you look at the championship point standings, it's all but assured a title for Kyle Kleiman, as he has a considerable advantage over the rest of the field. But you know, there's pride in that Kleiman family, and Cody Kleiman gave them everything they could handle today and finishes on the podium as well with a third-place finish and a flat left front tire. He's with Kate.
You know, it's interesting. We kicked off today with Cody telling me that it was going to come down to the tires here today. And interestingly enough, for you, it really did. How did you hold on?
I don't know. I was losing brakes there at the end, and we ran a three-wheeler around the whole track for the last half of the race. But we held on, running a consistent line on the inside. But I thought it was going to be another 1-2 finish, but Sean had a good run on the inside. But I can't thank my sponsors enough: Max's Tires, Ponze, Dan and Amber Torque Bears, Billy from Pro Power, J&H Transmissions. Everybody, thank you.
Another podium for Cody Kleiman.
Yeah, and he's smiling out there, and he salvaged that third. But it's not just about the trucks here at ERX and Torque the Off-Road Championship. We also have some UTVs. Kicking off earlier today were the Pro Stock UTVs. You know, this has been a season dominated by CJ Greaves, but he had to start back there, on the third row. But it didn't take him long to move up to the front. The 933 was in it, but you also had the 918 of Zach Martin putting pressure in there. Jake Lunderby in that yellow Yamaha. Dylan Poynton, who's been up there in the front, really showing that they've got what it takes to beat CJ.
In the first third of the race, it was all about Dylan Poynton, but CJ Greaves was able to figure out that rhythm section and get himself up to front. Poynton put on a couple charges, but wasn't able to make it happen. But Martin was running really hard, as we can see him and
Jake Lunderby
going door to door, but it was all about CJ Greaves.
Yeah, CJ Greaves, 10 wins, make it 11 on the season. He's undefeated. Poynton second, Jake Lunderby in third. But the Pro Mod UTVs, it's been the story of Rodney Van Efferen trying to chase down the Pro Stock leader in Kyle Cheney. This was Cheney's race. It was a mad field, but no Rodney Van Efferen. Johnny Greaves had to sit in for Rodney because Rodney hurt himself last week in a motocross race. You want to talk about hurting the vehicle a bit?
Yeah, we saw some bumping and banging. This brought out a full course yellow all the way up and over. But then it was all about Kyle Cheney. He put it all together. He talked about his suspension was better. It's working down the straightaways. But Johnny Greaves was right in the mix the whole day. He hasn't had a chance to race this vehicle. This is the first time.
And he's driving in Rodney's vehicle. CJ was driving in the mod class the first time to see him. CJ worked his way up to second. Then Johnny passes him on the last lap. It was a three-driver battle to the very end. CJ has the mechanical. Johnny moves up to second. But this was Kyle Cheney's race. One win coming into ERX. He now has 2 wins leaving ERX. Win going to Kyle Cheney, Johnny Greaves second. Rounding out the top 3 is CJ Greaves. They're the Pro 2s. They're coming up next. The final race of the afternoon here at ERX Motor Park.
For 41 years, winning drivers in all forms of motorsports have relied on VP Racing Fuels for leading-edge technology to optimize performance and power them to the winner's circle. Now you can get the same benefit with VP Mattitives, formulated for gas and diesel engines. It's race fuel technology for your daily driver, and the perfect way to clean out your fuel system and put the power back in your drive. VP Mattitives are available at your local AutoZone store. For more information, visit vpracingfuels.com.
to have an excellent racetrack, you have to do a lot of track preparation in between the races, and that's what we have here. You see that big water puddle in the middle left portion of your screen. That's because it rained so much this morning, but this soil's really held it well, held on to it. You know, sometimes it can roll off, sometimes it can soak in, and I think we got more of the latter than the previous.
Yeah, the track is awesome right now. The only situation that we've seen, which is really nothing, is the split lane is getting rougher and rougher, and that's what we want to see. We want to see that section is more sandy. We can see that the dirt is very, very workable. We're seeing that big cat tractor modifying that corner, not filling up the ruts and packing it back and forth. So you're doing a couple things. You're using the blade in front to shape it, and then the big tracks to pack it down. So it makes it a very drivable surface and raceable surface for the racers.
Oh, there's one dude chilling in the breeze, and
hey, Mom.
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah. Yeah, we are in the, I don't know, are these the North Woods of Minnesota? I can't.
Absolutely.
I mean, I know we're north, and these are woods, but Ricky taking a picture on it with his.
Well, I have a tattoo on my arm, and dragonflies seem to be the consistent thing lately, and that's my mom designed it, and it says DJ, and so a little sign from somebody to let me know my mom's out watching her grandson today.
That is awesome. And Caterpillar's doing their work, and the grader out there working that dirt in and out. You know, and some of the sportsmen earlier today, they had to kind of break the track in, and these guys are actually still reworking that track. And unfortunately for those guys, that happens in anything. It could rain later in the day. You never know, but sometimes you got to be the guinea pig. And this time it was the guys that raced early mornings. If other days, man, that dude's hauling tail going backwards. Other days you can have a great track in the morning, and then it rains in the afternoon. You got slop to deal with. Kate, trackside, what are you up to?
I'm trackside. You know, some of these guys get to play around in the dirt out in the track. A couple of us get to hang out in the dirt here, and I am with a little buddy here. I would say one of a true race fan. His name is Trey, by the way, and he is playing in dirt. And I got to ask you, Trey, what's been your favorite part about the day? Racing? Yeah. He told me before it was the racing, so I'm not making him say that.
Hey, get in there.
But in reality, you know, this is what it's all about. And I got to say another thing that's really cool about ERX, as he's playing in dirt, our guys are out running in the dirt. They do a really incredible job here at ERX with the way that they actually do their dirt. And it's actually its own kind. I had an interview last year with the man who was behind it all, and I called him the dirt doctor. But they really go through steps after step to make this dirt, this sand, this clay exactly perfect, as Ricky, you just said, a perfect track for these drivers.
And they're going through the slop there on that inside of that turn, and that's really a portion of the track you're not going to be in, Ricky.
Oh, good job.
got you eating your chocolate chip cookie.
I want to thank my producer for letting us know. Come on camera.
Hey, Ricky's got to have his cookie break because he's hypoglycemic, so he's going to have his cookie. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about the Pro 2-wheel drives
my
here
trainer
in just a bit.
Is going to get all over me for that one.
Don't go anywhere.
Trailblade tires, the weapon of choice for wherever you want to go.
Cooper tires on the ground go round and round, round and round, round and round. Tires on the car are warranty. And what you need, the tires on the car help keep you safe. They grip the road when you hit the brakes.
Your tires matter. So count on Cooper, an American company since 1914.
The tires on the ground go round and round.
TORC, the Off-Road Championship, is brought to you by Vision. From high-speed desert racing in Baja to short course carnage, Vision has arrived. And by Maxxis, built for adventure.
Welcome back to a breezy now afternoon as we're inside our studio here. We can't be a part of that breeze, but it is a toasty Minnesota afternoon. High, what, 90s right now? I need to take a look at my weather app, but yeah, about a 90-degree day here in Elk River, Minnesota. So much different than what we expected or what we thought we were going to do this morning when we saw the rain roll in. I didn't know I'd really expect that on this this day. Other days possibly, but not today. But the heat is something special because usually it starts cooling down this time of year, but it's definitely firing up today.
Well, as we look at the Pro 2s and staging, we have to remember that they're going off of points that they had starting the round, which was the second round 4. So if you notice that Andrew Carlson is started towards the back because he was not in this event at that time. He didn't have his Pro 2, and you notice that Brad Lovell is all the way back in 6th behind Luke Johnson because he was the point leader at that time. So what they'll do, they'll qualify for the next round, and then they'll take the finishing order and the points from that round, and then they'll invert the top 6. So a lot to figure out here.
You know, I know you talked about how, was it Jared that was watching earlier? My buddy Dustin Farthing, who's a personal watercraft multi-time world champion, he's watching live online right now and saying bad things about us, but you see guys crossover stuff, and I would like to see Dustin because he races in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo and does stuff on there. But when you get into watercraft and you come in here, some of those things cross over, and I think it's really cool when you see like Nick Baumgartner come from snowboarding into a sport like this. I'd like to see Dustin come from like Chris McCluggage. I'm sure.
Wait a minute, am I supposed to feel sorry for a guy that's racing a Lamborghini?
No, yeah, but still, but. The feel is totally different from going from the water where you have to make those constant adjustments and the track changing every second to that Lamborghini, which that track changes possibly every couple of laps, but not every lap. Here, it changes every lap. You'd think it'd be a good crossover for a guy like that.
Well, I have a challenge. Get me a ride in, not a ride, a drive, a test in a Lamborghini, and I'll get you some laps in a Pro 2.
We might be able to do that. I know his Lamborghini of Atlanta might be able to.
Are they built for full-size men, or is it just for little guys?
No, there's some deals. And in that Super Trofeo, they have 3 different, like amateur and a Pro-Am and a Pro class. So you can definitely probably do that. But, crossing over into this would be fun for a guy that excelled at the highest level in a different discipline. And I think back at the guys like we've seen before, but I think like Nick Baumgartner. That's a guy who's used to using his feet and arms and body to manipulate something that's got to be different hopping into a truck that we saw him do.
But he's dealing with gravity, and I have a friend named Roger Hickey who comes from gravity skateboards and feeling, and he said he got into a stock car and it felt natural for him because he was able to carry the speed through and not scrub speed, and that's what Nick has to do in the downhill snowboarding, is not scrub too much speed. You use the edges as much as you can, but you want to increase speed and not scrub speed, and that's exactly what these guys are doing. They're sideways and they're jumping, but it's still about making sure that you're going forward and not too sideways.
Gotcha. Let's take a look at the Pro 2-wheel drives. This is the final race of the afternoon as they lead or head onto the track. And Kevin Hanegraaff, you see it, and I look at his sponsor list. It starts off with Lee Beverage, Sundrop, but really the Allies of Autism is his on the side of his truck, and it's great. You need to follow him on Facebook because he is a special individual, and I know his son has to deal with issues, but I mean, he's a great guy to be around in the pits, but I mean, his cause is exceptional as we see the Pro 2s warming up. And you see a couple of guys out there, maybe Mikey Vandenhovel, trying to see what the outsides look like. Now's your chance to kind of work in that track just a touch. So we're getting ready to go for our final race of the afternoon here, just a bit. Like thank everybody watching online live here at ERX. As the Toyota Escondido Pace vehicle leads the final race of the day, the Pro 2-wheel drives. We have high horsepower, high suspension, but a DOT tire. It's different for 2017, so it's hard holding all that horsepower with the DOT tire, but these guys are ready to prove it can be done on this race course.
Looking at the motor, we have a 410 cubic inch, 700 to 710 horsepower, 20 inches of wheel travel, around 4,000 pounds, give or take a couple. They got a wheelbase of 117 inches, but once again, it's a DOT tire, and you can buy these at any tire store around.
Take a look at the field. Kevin Hanegraaff, Allies of Autism, leading the field. next to Mark Peterson in the number 2, Eric Ruppel, a winner already this season in the Maxxis J&H transmission entry. Luke Johnson, the series points leader with 3 wins on the season. He'll be back there trying to really separate himself because he had a lot of bad luck here in the spring race. Diving in is Hanegraaff, a clear leader, but also Peterson on the inside, number 2. Ruppel's going to be on the right as they hit into this left-hand turn. Luke Johnson diving in there. And Brad Lovell also, you see Lovell, the 44, second in points, and he gets blocked by Johnson. Both of them taking that right lane. It's only Mark Peterson on that inside line.
These trucks are so much bigger than we've seen. Not bigger than the Pro 4s, but than the Pro Lights and everything, so you have to pick your move.
Peterson on the inside. That inside was faster that lap, no doubt, takes the lead.
Mark Peterson has been a standout guy, really fast all year long. Ruppel was our winner of our opening round, and now we see Luke Johnson moving himself up into 3rd position.
Mark Peterson took the opposite lane of everyone else, did something different, and boy, did it pay off. Out of Lena, Wisconsin, he's the 2016 Moore Super Truck champion, and he's showing how to lead this. Hanegraaff up there. Johnson trying to get by. Johnson's going to get a great drive here. Watch Luke Johnson. He's on the right-hand side of your screen.
Coming straight up the inside. He's going to use both brakes and then the last brake to rotate at the end. Shoots up a little bit high. Now he's going to probably take the left lane, try to get a better run going into the whoops.
And the thing is, coming into that lane, it cost him the first time he hit ERX. So last year, he had that thing dialed that time, and that was a significant advantage once again.
So now Luke Johnson cleanly into 2nd place, but now we see the winner here before, Mikey Vandenheuvel, was unbelievably fast.
And he came from 6th up into the top 4 on that last lap. So past a couple of drivers, the track was different. He told me with them bringing in all this clay, it really changed. It was different. It didn't feel like the same truck.
And when we showed up here the other day, when it came to practice, it was completely hard pack and slick, and everyone was having a hard time. Now it's more like traditional ERX, where the cushion is really heavy and the track's getting beaten up. As we see Peterson out in front doing a great job in holding on to that lead.
Peterson's Dairy, Kenda Tires, Vargo Tool and Die out of Lena, Wisconsin. Mark Peterson, 2nd place. Really charging is Luke Johnson, also a new sponsor this weekend, and also a new looking livery, as it looks like Vandenheuvel's going to tail in right behind him. But when you see Johnson, he's going to go to this inside. Vandenheuvel sets up really early with the Jet Hot driver, trying to hold on, but not this time. He just got pushed too wide.
Yeah, Mikey Vandenheuvel with a great run, squared off on the outside, came over a little bit. Luke had to make a correction, but now let's see what happens on the inside and then leaving on the low side coming off. But Mikey Vandenheuvel with a great pass over Luke Johnson.
That was a blocking line for the most part. He held Luke out there, and Luke could not turn down, but also he held that inside line on exit. Luke was just kind of stuck in that situation.
And Mikey running a little bit wide there, Luke making up a little bit of ground on him. But we got to remember that Mikey's only run 1 race this year, and he dominated here at ERX. So watch for him to be running very aggressive and very fast. He loves this track.
That was his stop number 3. Now Johnson takes that outside line, the same one that Peterson is in. Vandenheuvel gets really good drive. And you know what? I think it might have helped Johnson that time, but the way that Vandenheuvel gets to the right in that section seems to be imperative.
Yeah, Mikey's doing a great job setting up for that 180, setting him up. So Luke was better actually in the right lane than the left lane.
But both of those guys, and here I think you see Johnson a little bit farther of a distance, but he's trying to keep that momentum going, and both of these trucks closing in on Mark Peterson. The best race we've seen out of Peterson this year, and he is flying.
Well, and also he's got a crew chief of Kurt Greaves, which is Johnny Greaves' brother, and they won so many championships together. And so Kurt has done a great job setting that truck up. I think that is an old Greaves chassis, but Peterson doing a great job as Vandenheuvel looks to the inside, but then both him and Luke Johnson stay in the high lane.
Watch out here, though. Vandenheuvel with a long drive, and something happened to Peterson. It looks like the motor shut off. Something.
No, it was a car upside down in the lane.
And in that lane, and it didn't affect the guys on the inside. Unfortunate for Peterson. And you know what? They just called a full course caution, so they'll go back to the lap before. It was kind of done after the fact, but that was a dangerous situation, and I think it's probably the right call.
And this is
there it is, the driver that's down in there. And let me see. Oh, it is Mike Rinkus from Crandon that's on his lid there, and he climbs out without the helmet on. I mean, I'm sure it was buckled on just there a minute ago, but you can get.
But he had a hat on.
You get. How did that happen?
How do you do that?
Was that really?
You're upside down. Your helmet's still attached
you got
to
the
your neck support, and you have a hat on.
Or do you have the presence of mind to grab it out from underneath your seat or something? He must have been ready to make the podium.
That sponsor.
That was
sponsor needs to
give him some extra
love,
extra hats.
See, look,
too.
He's got a hat on, helmet still attached.
I've never seen a guy rocking the Hans device quite like that before either. I think he wants to get back in there. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a guy pull his helmet off and have the hat on the track. Yeah, things not so good in Division Wheel 27. Not loving it right now. And in that case, oh, he's running now. Do you think he wants to get back in there? Oh, Ricky, he wants to get back in.
Well, but
where's his helmet? I don't know.
And where's he
Hang
going?
on, he left his sunglasses. He's going back in for the sunglasses.
No, he's buckling up.
Now, do you think he still had his earbuds in his ear?
Well, they're pulling him straight. So that what they want to do is they want to make sure that he can steer the vehicle. So I don't think he wants to get back in sense of the race.
Well, he's got a
you
fire.
can see how much oil and stuff that has come out of everything. But what they want to do is pull the vehicle straight, and then they're going to drag him back to hot pit.
Rick, yeah, you know I was joking. I didn't really mean he was going in there to grab his sunglasses.
I thought he was going in for cigarettes.
That's just wrong.
We're just having some fun.
That's
on the web.
funny. That's funny, and I know
we're joking and stuff. I'm glad, but the good news is that he's okay.
Hey, Jared Johnson's laughing.
That he's all right. Yeah, he thinks it's funny. And it's awesome. The Division Wheel has picked up another truck in the Pro 2 division. But this is, I hate to say it, but this is one of the negative. This is the negative side to having the lanes, is because once a vehicle is upside down, it's impossible to throw a local yellow unless you shoot everybody over into that other side. So it's.
And that happened so quickly. Then too. That is what happened with Mark Peterson. As Mike Rinkus in the 27 will exit the track, not necessarily under his own power, he will not be in the rest of this Pro 2 race. Well, Ricky, we thought we were going to get the start, but I'm going to tell you right now, they're not going to start.
I appreciate that insight, Mr. Floyd.
Yeah, I'm very observant today. I think I said
sharp as a marble.
I think I said we were at Crandon a time, at least once, maybe twice.
But you can keep messing up. You're never going to catch me, bro.
I'm geographically challenged.
I'm phonetically and verbally and every other challenge there is in the world, but this.
Oh, dude, they need a bigger tow vehicle on this. It looks like I don't think that thing's steering so well. You're talking about the steering. It looks like he's locked out to the left, so they're going to have to lift the front end up on that thing just to get it out of there.
So what probably happened is that Mike Rinkus got in there and tried to steer it, but probably when he flipped, it flipped so hard that it sometimes it'll rip the steering gear out of it, and it'll mess it up, so it's stuck one way.
Okay, what you got?
Okay, gents, out of curiosity, we've been talking about tires. We know that tires are going to be extremely important here at ERX. For Pro 2, is there anything that changes with that kind of idea that we've been carrying all day long, or not? Tires still play obviously a big part.
Well, the thing that you have with the Pro 4 is that all wheels are pulling, and so sometimes you don't want the gap too big. Like Keegan Kincaid went with a huge gap in practice, and he didn't like it. It just didn't work out for him. So you still want a lot of rubber on the ground, but you need the gap. But when it comes to a Pro 2-wheel drive, you only have those rear wheels, so you want to make sure that you get a lot of forward bite and not too much side bite. So how you can do that is a lot of times you'll see cuts going side by side all the way through. If you put a block to where you start to running into multiple edges, that will give you some side stability, but you also, the main thing when it comes to a Pro 2-wheel drive is that forward bite.
You gotta ride that razor's edge though, because like you said, you got to find that happy place. Forward bite's not necessarily always good if you're trying to turn, or you got to think of your weight balance and stuff. But the same thing, if you're constantly chasing grip and you have too much side bite, that could hurt you as well. So you just got to find that happy place, and that no matter where you at, that seems to be the big question, and especially with these guys in those DOT tires, or maybe it's more an option with the project tires because you got a clean canvas. It's just a flat tire. Here they're working with pre-cut grooves on the DOT tire.
Yeah, well, they have these guys will use, some of the guys are going with a sort of a more of an intermediate terrain front, and then they'll do the grooving, the lateral cuts. But when it comes to the rear, they're going with the most open cut, because with these, with the weight range and stuff, the sidewall is much stiffer than the project tires, so you have the stability of it, so you can run a more open groove.
Your buddy Jared Johnson was impressed by coming out of that truck with the hat on as well. I'm with you, Jared.
Yeah, I want to thank the updates from Chris Pantani. He's throwing them out to me, let me know that the forklift was coming to come out there and get that set up.
We've got an alert. Toyota Escondido pace vehicle leading the way in the Pro 2-wheel drives back there. What you looking at, Ricky?
Andrew Carlson, right there in front of Eric Ruppel, has worked his way all the way from, he started out in 15th spot, or actually 13th spot, and has worked his way all the way up into the top 5. So Andrew Carlson has been a man on the move.
But it'll be Mark Peterson who leads the field once again, because you go back to that last completed lap, and Peterson has been fast, but Vanden Heuvel has made up 6 positions. Luke Johnson back in 3rd, Brad Lovell 4th, Andrew Carlson's made up 8 spots. He's in 5th spot, Eric Ruppel in 6th. This is anyone's game. Vanden Heuvel with an excellent tight inside line. That's going to give him a lot of drive up that jump.
Vanden Heuvel always aggressive every time he's on the track. Now we see.
Whoa, Peterson, where are you going? He was going the wrong way. It's going to cost him there. Will it be 1 or 2 spots? You see everybody going crazy behind.
Yeah, we saw Andrew Carlson make a great move in turn 1, and then he tried to make the same move on the inside of Luke Johnson coming into 2, but then over-rotated, and that gives these guys a little extra room.
As you see Peterson drop back, and unfortunately for Peterson that time, he just got a lot of push. He was turning, but the truck just didn't want to turn.
Yeah, a lot of times you got to use that rear brake. We see Peterson coming in, rotating really early. A lot of confidence shown out of that driver. And now we see Andrew Carlson back up into 4th position. So we're going to see a tight run coming up here.
Ooh, and Luke Johnson coming up short on that tabletop. You want to land that downside. It's important, it's imperative actually for Luke Johnson, who's the series points leader, to move into 2nd place. Kate Osborne?
The number 14 truck said that Pro 2 was a place I was meant to be. He said his driving style fits a Pro 2, as he's not afraid to hang it out there. He said with the bit of suspension travel that happens in the power of the Pro 2, it definitely fits him.
That's a comparison to the Pro Lightweight he's ran for several years. But yeah, he looks at home in this one, and he is the series points leader as he dives underneath, making a little contact with Peterson, got him a little upset. Both of those guys, neither one wanted to let out the throttle. And unfortunately, when you're in the back end of a vehicle like that, you can't let off yourself, really.
Yeah, it's a tough call, but he was just coming up the inside. Peterson didn't know he was there. They bumped and banged, and then Peterson started swapping and wasn't able to hang on to it. But Luke Johnson was able to move himself up into 2nd. And in the spring, he wasn't able to catch Mikey Vanden Heuvel. Will he put it together and try to win this race?
And when I say he can't let off of it, that's Peterson can't let his foot out of the throttle. Because if you're sideways, you let off, it tends to keep, it really gets disturbed.
Well, exactly. Everybody's fighting for every inch. And now we see Andrew Carlson fall on the same line as Luke on the high side. inside. It looks like he's going to get by Peterson as well. So this race is far from over, and now we see Brad Lovell also coming into the mix.
Mikey Vandenheuvel's going to take the red and the yellow at the same time. It is the competition caution. That means we're halfway through this Pro 2 race. Where Vandenheuvel, Johnson, Carlson now in the top 3 with Peterson and Lovell rounding out the top 5. Who's going to win here at ERX in Pro 2? Stick with us and find out.
When it comes to protecting your engine, AMSOIL offers the next level performance truck owners demand. AMSOIL provides 75% more engine protection against horsepower loss and wear than required by a leading industry standard, extending the life of pistons and cams. Give the vehicle you love the above and beyond fortification it deserves. AMSOIL, devoted to protection.
Rugged radios. Work, race, play.
Hey, Steve, where you at?
Experience clear communications through headsets or helmet kits.
I'm up on the hill to your right. Oh, there you are.
Talk vehicle to vehicle.
Keep the radio contact going. Copy?
Talk to passengers.
Copy that, I gotcha.
And stream your favorite music. Complete communications for UTVs, base camp, toy haulers, or off-road vehicles. Rugged radios, the authority in communications.
As they're lined up nose to tail, or they're trying to get in that nose to tail lineup, the configuration for the second half of the race. They're both having to go through that split section. Sure, we're going to get some nice drone footage there coming over the trucks. Cool looking shot as we're taking a look. This is the last turn here, a very pivotal turn. It had been Andrew Carlson's nemesis at the spring round, stop number 3. He rolled over twice in this turn. He's worked his way up into 3rd place. I don't know. I've got a good feeling he's fast. He's passed more than anybody so far. 10 drivers he's passed, but can he do enough to take 1st or 2nd here today?
Yeah, absolutely, and we've seen.
Looking at Mikey Vandenheuvel out in front. Can he hold on to that spot? Because he's going to have a hard charge in Luke Johnson. And look who's in 3rd. Andrew Carlson at his home track. He's passed 10 drivers to this point. Can he keep that mojo going, Riggy?
Well, we've seen that Andrew Carlson really likes this first turn. He always shoots into the inside, and sure enough, he does. He shoots right down to the inside, but he gives Luke Johnson room. He doesn't bang on him, so now it's going to be coming down into the right-hander. We'll see what happens.
That was an excellent pass, if it is a pass, because he did not gain that inside position yet. Luke was still holding on to that inside line, and he needed about another half a truck length, and I think it was smart by Johnson taking that outside line. He wasn't necessarily set up the best for it, but he knew that's the line he needed to take if he was going to keep the driver behind him.
And look at Eric Ruppel shoot up the inside. Our first round winner shoots up the inside on Andrew Carlson. Can he complete the pass?
Where did Eric Ruppel come from? The Maxxis entry closing in there. And you talk about that win back in Chicago. A surprise victory for him, but no surprise right now. He is charging.
And here we see Peterson get into, and spins around Brad Lovell. A tough move. Looked like Peterson wasn't intending on doing that, just came in and it got Brad right at the right place at the right time. Tough break for Brad Lovell.
And Brad Lovell's bad luck's gone to even worse because he was having mechanical difficulties. He had a few bolts back out of his truck that cost him at the last round at Crandon. I mean, everything's going wrong for him. And at round number 3, earlier on in the year, it looks like he would have all the good luck. And then it just round after round of terrible luck for him. Vandenheuvel's got a pretty good advantage. Luke messed up right there over that hill, and that's really going to help Carlson close in.
Carlson got a great run through there. What happened was it just filled Luke Johnson's cab up, as Johnny Greaves said earlier. The roost coming over the top is unbelievable.
Mikey Vandenheuvel, Kenna Tires, Lincoln Electric, Flying Dutchman Off-Road out there in front, but you're seeing the FXR entry. Listen to that horsepower, the 151 put it in there. Arturo Tires, AMSOIL driver Andrew Carlson. And you're right, he's been diving hard into that first turn, but now he's setting up more outside and getting a good drive. So he's doing it a couple of different ways.
Andrew has a lot of confidence in that double section, and a lot of times guys are nose diving a little bit. Here we see Andrew looking on the inside, but he does not. So, we must have a full course yellow because we see him.
Yeah,
everyone's slowed down.
Luke slowed down big time, and yeah, they got the word out there, so a full course caution. They wouldn't slow down quite that much if it were just a local yellow, but problems with the 31 of Scott Mueller, and we re-rack and restack again, and we're just over halfway through this race. So Mueller gets towed off the track. It looks like his day is done, so he'll have to pick things up for round number 12 of TORC, the Off-Road Championship, but no more Mueller here at ERX. So 9 laps completed of a 14-lap race, so 5 more to go. And Van Heuvel looks to be quicker. When we look at the fastest lap of the race, it is Andrew Carlson at 52.44 on lap number 7. Second quickest was Van Heuvel, but it was 0.3 slower. Then you have the 44 of Brad Lovell, third quickest, Luke Johnson fourth, and Mark Peterson fifth quickest. But again, it's tying all these laps together. It's not a fast one lap. You have to have a bunch of fast laps.
Well, and you have as we said in the opening, you got pressure on a lot of these. Mikey Van Heuvel, who wants to run a couple races, wants to show everybody that he's able to win. And then you got Luke Johnson, who wants to make sure that he maintains the point lead. You got Andrew Carlson, who's a local hero, who wants to win for them. You got Brad Lovell, who doesn't want to lose points. So everybody is overthinking the situation. And I think the guy putting it down the best is Mikey Van Heuvel, and he's just racing.
I think also Luke Johnson doesn't want to do anything stupid, because it looks like if he stays in those top 2 or 3 positions, he's in a good spot for a season championship. You don't want to take yourself out of this race and have Brad Lovell, make up a ton of points. That's not what you do if you're trying to win a championship. And his spotters probably told him, Brad's back in 8th. Toyota Escondido vehicle leads the field, and we still have 5 more laps to go here in Pro 2-wheel drive. So let's do this again with another restart, and 5 laps to go now. Kenda tires of Mikey Van Heuvel out in front. The Cooper tires of Luke Johnson just behind. But don't count out the 151 Arturo tires of Andrew Carlson. You know he's going to dive underneath. He got a great run. He might even get Van Heuvel at this pace. Oh, and Johnson does the wrong thing at the wrong time, and will this cost him a ton of points? That was the time he needed to let him go, Ricky, and he did not do it.
Well, it's a situation, you're coming through there, you got to do what you got to do, but Brad, this is a great situation for Brad Lovell. He has a situation, so now Luke Johnson, you can see all the way in the back with only 5 laps to go.
But Brad Lovell's still in 8th place, so Johnson's not losing a bunch of points. What happens here? Because Johnson looked like he had lost that position.
Andrew Carlson, every restart, it shoots up the inside, and it's been a very good, strong move for him. And as he comes up, as you see, he shoots down the inside. He's way on the inside of Luke. He gives Luke the room, but then it sort of shoves up a little bit high. As Luke comes around, he's holding the outside, but then Andrew just works up. I don't think Andrew was trying to crash him, but it's at the wrong place at the wrong time, and it was a big penalty on Luke Johnson.
And you're looking into that case too. Luke had more room to go left and keep his foot in it. If I turn right, bad things can happen, and bad things did happen that time. But in this race, Van Heuvel is not pulling away from Carlson, and Eric Ruppel is in a strong 3rd place up front.
And we haven't talked enough about Eric Ruppel. He won the first round after a situation with Luke Johnson and Brad Lovell, but Eric Ruppel has been driving the wheels off of this thing all race long, so doing a great job. Eric Ruppel strong in 3rd place.
Crossing over a little bit on that finish line jump is Van Heuvel. 11 laps complete, 3 more to go here. And you talked about how Van Heuvel only had 1 race in this season, and it was here at ERX. Kate, you have more?
I do. You know, a lot of guys, people would walk around saying, you know, who's Mikey? Why is he coming in and he's only had one other race? Well, this guy has been around off-road racing for his entire life. He is a son of in the family of off-road racing, but more importantly, with being Sean Morris's spotter, he's very good at finding lines. He's very good at avoiding the holes and things that he really needs to work through. So Mikey Vandenheuvel obviously showing that he does deserve a ride here today.
You're right, Kate, and I'm looking at Vandenheuvel having to fight with some ruts in that section. I've also noticed that Brad Lovell has worked up to 4th, and he should be putting pressure on Eric Ruppel, while Luke Johnson, the series points leader, back there in 8th. So Ruppel's doing good in 3rd, but Lovell knows what he needs to do, and Lovell's going to be charging harder than ever here in these final couple of laps.
But if you're looking, Brad Lovell is still about a complete second behind Eric Ruppel, and Ruppel doing a great job. We saw both situations with Lovell and Luke Johnson spin and have to go to the back and have to work their way back up. As we see now, Luke Johnson's worked his way up to 9th, but it's Ruppel who I've been so impressed with, has found so much speed in this round.
And landing way down there front end just a little bit high, but the race up front is a good one between Mikey Vandenheuvel, Andrew Carlson, and you see the red Kenda truck of Mikey Vandenheuvel, a part-timer as far as a driver in the cockpit, but as Kate mentioned, he's been the spotter for Sean Morris. It looks different through the eyes in the spotter stand than as it does in that truck.
Well, and as we see the white flag coming out with Mikey Vandenheuvel out in front, he was a Pro 2 racer. His father was a champion. His father was a great racer, so he's been doing this a long time, and he's also the guy that builds the headers on 90% of the race trucks out there, so he's not just a driver, he's a great shoe as well. And here we're watching Eric Ruppel as he holds his own against Brad Lovell.
And with about 3/4 of a lap to go, Lovell knows that he needs to get by him to get 2 more points on Luke Johnson, but we're starting to see a charge by Andrew Carlson here with only a couple of more turns left, diving hard to the inside. He needs to upset that truck. You see one lapper in front, and that could cost him. Watch Andrew Carlson now on the outside line, but no, it's going to be Hanegraaff, and he does. Look at Vandenheuvel. I don't know if it's going to have enough time. Vandenheuvel gets upset, but he's only got 1 more turn to go, and the Kenda Tire 77 is going to drive by and take the checkered flag for the 2nd time. He takes the win here at ERX. Carlson in 2nd. My heart is pounding. Eric Ruppel in 3rd. Brad Lovell will finish 4th. Where will Luke Johnson finish? We'll have to find out when we return to Minnesota.
When it comes to protecting your engine, AMSOIL offers the next level performance truck owners demand. AMSOIL provides 75% more engine protection against horsepower loss and wear than required by a leading industry standard, extending the life of pistons and cams. Give the vehicle you love the above and beyond fortification it deserves. AMSOIL, devoted to protection.
Cooper tires on the ground go round and round, round and round, round and round. Tires on the car are warranty. And what you need, the tires on the car help keep you safe. They grip the road when you hit the brakes.
Your tires matter, so count on Cooper, an American company since 1914.
The tires on the ground go round and round.
TORC, the Off-Road Championship, is brought to you by AMSOIL, devoted to protection, and by Cooper Tires. We make tires for people, not just cars.
As you see the fans making their way down there towards pit, trying to get a better shot with their cameras. You see the Jeep of the crew for Brad Lovell. That Jeep's went all across the country, and Lovell not quite able to make it up on the podium, but a strong run for him, salvaging points, actually gaining championship points on Luke Johnson. Looks like Lovell's going to finish in 4th. Johnson's going to finish in 10th, a couple of laps down. So 6, I gained 12 points in that race, because you get two differential. I believe it's right around 10, 11, 12 points gained by Brad Lovell with 2 rounds remaining, even though we will not see him on top of the podium today.
Yeah, you good? Okay.
When you're a part-timer to TORC as a driver, you want to make the most of your opportunities. That's what Mike Vandenheuvel did this year at ERX. 2 races and 2 race wins. Let's send it down to Kate Osborne, who's with Mikey Vandenheuvel.
Huge win for Mikey Vandenheuvel. You know, Mikey, you had to deal with the pressure all race long, the restarts, but I really got to ask, what statement were you making with that win?
Well, it took us probably all summer to do it, but we finally got our sweep finished off for the weekend here for this round. I'm just so proud of this team for, you know, battling back. All these other guys got to practice and improve all summer long, and we're kind of sitting there waiting for our chance to show what we can do.
Mikey Vandenheuvel, this is a huge win for you. That final restart, walk us through what you were really working through in your head.
I was just mainly worrying about myself. I don't worry about these other guys too much, as long as I don't make any mistakes. Me with these Kenda tires, this whole team behind me, it's a small team. I got a lot of volunteers. I got my Lincoln Electric welder. I built this thing myself with the help of all these guys. We just do what we do and let those guys do what they're going to do.
It's about making the least amount of mistakes, and that was Mikey Vandenheuvel today who did that.
Exactly right, Kate. As we look at the unofficial results, the man who moved up more than anyone that we saw in the class 11 positions was Andrew Carlson, unofficially in second, and really one of the strongest races I've seen out of him all year. Eric Ruppel level. But one guy you don't see really in that top 5 who we've seen all year was Luke Johnson. He finishes back in 10th. And that's going to cost him some points. Let's go back to Kate Osborne.
Hometown guy, Andrew Carlson. Andrew, you had to work your way through that entire packet. 10 some cars. You were actually one of the fastest trucks out there, if not the fastest. Battled with Mikey there at the end. First and foremost, do you think you had anything left in that truck?
Oh, for sure. I think one more lap we would have been there. Unfortunately, had some lappers, and I ended up messing around with the guys in 3rd and 4th and 5th too long, and we didn't really get up to Mikey to the last lap. So I think, you know, just the distance I closed on him in that last lap, I think it would have been a great race. I think, you know, hats off to him. He ran a great race and, you know, was clean and all that. But, yeah, it just came down to ran out of time. But we had a fast truck for sure. Just felt really good on the track. Love the Pro 2 out here, and just a lot more options, a lot more stuff to do, and just had a really, really fun race.
You can see how comfortable Andrew Carlson is, not only in his Pro 2, but also here at this track.
I think Andrew's right. I don't think Mike Vandenheuvel wanted another lap. If this was a 15-lap race, he could have been in trouble. But you look at the championship points, and you still see a comfortable lead. Luke Johnson over Brad Lovell. Peterson with another good finish. He finished in 5th, but he was up front for a majority of this race. Mitch Dorr, Eric Ruppel rounding out the top 5. Hannah Graff, you see Carlson, a part-timer in the season, 93 points behind. Let's go down to Kate, who's with Eric Ruppel.
Back on the podium, Eric Ruppel, we found a couple of thirds for you here this season, but more importantly, as you were pulling in, you looked like you were cooling down the truck. You had to definitely work your way around to get this podium, but also were you dealing with some issues there with your truck?
Yeah, we ate a lot of roofs from these guys. Everybody's talking about the young guns, but the old guy's still here, so don't forget about me. But Max's Tire, Pettit Development, the crew, my wife, everybody, Kramer, Doug, Chusik Builders, J&H Transmissions, Dynamic Converters, Larry Machosik, my spotter. Two confusing names, but yeah, we got caught up behind some lap traffic there, and we're coming for these guys tomorrow. I think I got something for them.
If that's not confidence right now, I don't know what is. Eric Ruppel, 3rd place here in Pro 2.
What a run by Eric Ruppel. I mean, he was up there and fighting hard in that Maxxis entry, number 37. Just 6 seconds behind Vandenheuvel, winning the Pro 2 race. Well, Ricky, as a commentator, you watch this race, and I'd have to say that Andrew Carlson looked like he was the fastest guy out there, but Vandenheuvel knew how many laps he needed to stay out in front and did exactly that.
Yeah, I mean, Mikey, it's great that he swept it. You know, I mean, to come back and, as he said, sit off all season long, and wondering, can I have a shot at this run the race again, and then come out and then back it up. Was fast in practice, led the whole race. Pretty almost start to finish, and so Mikey Vandenheuvel, you know, I hope we see sponsors come out of the woodwork for him to see him here next year. He's definitely a worthy opponent. We need to see more guys like him.
As the track prep starts for not today, but the next round of TORC the Off-Road Championship presented by AMSOIL. We move into the final couple of rounds of the season, and we started off the top of the show with pressure for the drivers, pressure for the mechanics. I don't see too many wadded up machines, but I'm sure there's some work, including Luke Johnson, probably, that's a title contender that was a couple of laps down, that we'll have to get things straight and correct for tomorrow in the next round.
And we don't know what happened. We know that he was 2 laps down at the end. Was it a motor? Was it an overheating issue from Roost? Was it
and we saw that a bunch today.
Contact with the wall? I mean, we've seen it. I've seen a lot of it. And so it's wide open. You know, we still have 2 more rounds, and so he has a 27-point advantage at this point. But as you can see, with this big of a field, unlike Pro 2 and Pro Light, where it's a smaller field, you make one mistake, you fall out of the top 10. If you fall out early, you're going to be out of the top 15, and they quit giving points at 13. So that's a 20. There's in one. If he DNFs tomorrow, that puts him 2-point lead going into the last round. So definitely Luke Johnson doesn't want to do that, but this is a great blessing. I mean, Luke came right back for Brad Lovell, and he got spun out too. So, I mean, anything can happen. Andrew Carlson was driving really aggressive. He's going to want to come back, and he's got 3 wins on the year, would like to round it off with 4. Mikey Vandenheuvel, or 5. And Mikey Vandenheuvel would like to add to his streak and be perfect here at ERX when it comes to 2017. So we still have a lot of racing to go.
What do you do for the drivers that are overheating and having issues? Like Cam Reimers, we don't know if he was able to save that motor, but it was a common theme today that there were a lot of radiators having some issues.
Well, what you're going to have to do is find ways to deflect the sand, either shoot it down or shoot it off to the sides. But when you do that, you deflect the air from coming through as well. So when you're dealing with sand and stuff like that, it finds its way through. It comes around the driver's heads and stuff, and then when it comes through the cabs, it makes it through the screens. And then what happens is that it ends up getting stuck in the radiator. So they're going to have to be creative, because it creates a whole new problem when you're racing this close to each other. The mud flaps that they have don't do enough, in my opinion. They need to do something more to get that down, so that the racers can race close.
Is there regulations on the mud flap? Do they have to be a certain size?
They're supposed to be, you know, I think 2 inches from the ground. They're supposed to be right to the outside of the tire, a certain thing. And then everyone's got them on there. But with this Roost is coming off so hard, and then when they shoot out to the side, like Johnny Grief said, and you saw Andrew Carlson, he's packed with sand because he would run the lower line. Mikey Vandenheuvel would run the upper line, and when he hits the berm, it's just like a snow blower shooting sand, and then there's nowhere to go. So it's just a product of the environment, and the drivers and the crews have to figure out how to fix it.
If you're a guy in front, you don't want the mud flaps, because you want to cause as much havoc for the guy behind you. If you're guy behind you, you pray for something like that, because without vision, you can't drive.
If you can't see, you can't race.
And not only vision, but we're seeing mechanically how it could affect the vehicles as well.
And we've seen the guys coming in, they got fire extinguishers trying to blow that sand through with the water. And it's the water, you know, the pressurized fire extinguishers to shoot that water through the radiators, and then let the water, you know, let the aluminum fans cool the tubes that cool the water, and so on and so on. We don't need to get into a class in radiators, but if you don't have air going through there and water going through there, you're going to have a problem.
Same with me. I need to get some air going through me, as well as some
see
water.
A little sweat going here.
We're beating here. It's toasty in Minnesota. I live in Texas, and I feel like I'm in hot. Louisiana right now.
Yeah.
It's soggy. A couple of more rounds. It's going to be a big Kenda weekend, and we saw Vandenheuvel out there, and I know he was doing it. This is the race he wanted to do well for his. But we're seeing several tire manufacturers up there representing in those DOT classes. That's what you want. You don't want just one dominant tire. I guess if you're sponsored by that tire, you want that dominant tire, but we're seeing a lot of attrition for these guys.
I think the only people that like domination is the people that are sponsoring.
What's my word? It's not attrition. That's when they drop out. What is the parity?
Yeah,
parity. A lot of parity in the
well, and there is. And when it comes to the sand track, a lot of people have what they call an off-road tire or a mud tire.
Yeah.
You know, that's got open gaps and stuff like that. And that's where you're seeing, I think, the Roost being so big in the Pro 2, because it is a big gap in between them. Then they groove on top. They put another groove on top of that as well. So they're not looking for mileage and stuff like that. They're looking for traction and ways to get around. So That's what's tearing up the track and making it very much a driver's track.
Gotcha. As I'm looking at the points for all the classes, we still have a couple of more rounds to go that young gun drivers will be racing in. And again, another look behind the scenes before we come back and give our Vision Wheel Bad Mofo Award. Let's take a look at the Young Gun Show that you can follow online at www.youtube.com/torque.
A new generation is rising, an inevitable force primed to lay claim to what is theirs. This is Young Guns.
Beautiful Minnesota sky with Old Glory flying to the right, and there's the finish line, or not the, yeah, it is finish line arch for the TORC series with only a couple of rounds remaining. And I always liked finishing at Crandon, but this is also a great facility to do. And I know you're looking at this going, man, maybe not tomorrow, but that final day, taking out that split section, just making it one wide turn. And when it's wide like that, yeah, you might have somebody straight line and cut off both of those corners, but it might give you options as well.
It's going to make it rough.
And do you mogul it up when you do that? Do you try and do humps all over the place or not?
That's the thing. With that much speed, all you got to do is make about a couple rollers, and then it'll just immediately get rougher and rougher. Just like in Millville, Minnesota, they start off, they make it a certain way, and it gets rougher throughout the day. The trucks will take care of that. We just want to see some side-by-side racing, and that's forcing us into too much importance on that turn coming into it, and we're seeing a lot of guys just ramming in there.
Doing the trophy presentations for our Pro 2-wheel drives, and I promise you we will get to the Vision Wheel Bad Mofo Award here in just a moment.
Well, nice job, guys. Very entertaining race to watch, and very fun at that. And
looking at my results, and I know that, you know, it feels weird for me, and I'm sure for the drivers too. Usually after you come off the track for the first day, you're like, oh, okay, one more. No. You come off the track today and you're getting ready for what would be typically a full weekend. And maybe, you know, even or without question, extra work, because the truck's usually taken care of by this point heading into a race weekend. But everybody's going to have to start from scratch on the cleanup after this race and get ready for tomorrow. Riggy, Bad Mofo Award, as we're about to do that, brought to you by Vision Wheel. If you had to pick, who would you say would win that award?
I got to go with Mikey Vandenheuvel. He swept that first round that he was here, and then to come back and then put up with the pressure from all the different guys that he had to race against, Luke and also Andrew and all these different guys, and then held on to it.
Passed 7 people too, by the way, to get there.
Yeah, and so he was on a mission, and so in my opinion, I got to go with him. I mean, there's a lot of the guys that did great jobs. Andrew came from way in the back, but also to, you know, the first guy across the line with Stans, you know, held on after some pretty brutal racing.
Yeah, look at Gatlin Keener. He made up 3 spots. And, yeah, I could see that. I could see a strong run, dominated performance by both Kyle Kleiman, but more so C.J. Greaves. But it was almost a yawner. It was one of those C.J. Greaves races where once he got out in front, he kind of pulled away. So I'd say Vandenheuvel would have a good shot. But I could also see Carlson getting it with 11 passes and putting the pressure on that last lap. That could be a shot as well.
And then you
Kyle Chaney would be my entry possibly in the
can't take out
UTVs, but he can't. He's not eligible.
You can't take up Brad Lovell either. I mean, he came in and him and Peterson got into each other. He went all the way to the back, all the way back up to 4th, and he's puts himself 12 points closer to Luke Johnson for the championship battle. So there's a lot of different things. But who are they going to walk away remembering who won here?
We're going to find out. We have a wallet that tells the story in every bar across the country. Let's go down to Tiffany Stone, Miss Torque, and find out who the winner is the Vision Wheel Bad Mofo Award.
All right, guys, this is my favorite time of the year, of the entire show, and I love being able to give out the Bad Mofo Award. This award, you get $250, you get this customizable wallet, and it is my honor to give it to Pro 2 driver Mikey Vanden Heuvel. Mikey, congratulations, this is for you. You are a Vision Wheel Bad Mofo. You're getting all this. Show that off, show what you've done, and pretty much you are getting this for taking the Pro 2, not only in round 3, but you've done it here in round 4. Congratulations to you.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I really got to thank Vision Wheels for doing stuff like this, supporting the racers and TORC. It's stuff like this that's going to bring us to the next level. I think they'd probably look good wrapped in some Kendo tires.
Well, Mikey, you've done it here. Congratulations. Show off that Vision Wheel Bad Mofo Award. That's all for you. Big ups to Mikey Vanden Heuvel.
What was he talking about when he... Hey, you can't look like a bad mofo when you're swatting flies like that, Mikey. Well,
and also he had to throw in the plug for his tires. Like you take the Vision Wheel and you wrap it in a set of Kenda tires. You got to think. So I guess that goes out to Ken and Mike. So once you pony up $250 a race, there, Ken and Mike, and you can add that award as well. So what do you think about that?
I thought he looked pretty feminine, waving away his bad mofo wallet, swatting flies. He watches that again. He's like, "Get off me, fly!" That's tough. Hey, but he's
allergic to bees.
He's a bad mofo in a truck today, though. We wrap things up. Good day for some, bad day for others. But like I said, it feels a little awkward because one round's down this week, and we still have 2 full rounds to go to close out our championship.
Exactly. So everybody's got to go in tonight, and they got to work on their trucks. And some of them, we don't know what's wrong. And some guys, you don't know who was hot, who wasn't, who bent things, and all the different stuff. So it's going to be tough. It's now late. It's 6 o'clock in the evening. These guys got to work all night to start qualifying tomorrow morning.
And this is not an easy cleanup. But that's it for Ricky Johnson, Kate Osborne. I'm Robbie Floyd. It started off with a C.J. Greaves win. He's consistent, taking victories in 2 classes here at ERX. Kyle Chaney wins in Pro Stock UTV, climbing with a dominant victory in Pro Light, and Mikey Vanden Heuvel rounding out the Pro 2 victories. So round 4 is done. We're back on schedule. Stops number 12 and 13 to close off the championship are right here at ERX. Stick with us next time as we head back to Elk River, Minnesota. We'll see you then.